we've
Okay.
lost Allison.
I keep freezing up, and this never happens to me. Man, I don't know what the deal is.
Are we still? What? How do we sound right now?
You sound fine, but then like everything goes silent and it's frozen for like 10 seconds, and then I pop back in.
You did freeze for a second on my end.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We thought we lost you.
Damn it.
I don't know. There's something going on. Last episode, now this episode. Somebody doesn't want us to record shitty movies.
In the morning, I'm making waffles.
Whoever said orange was the new pink was seriously disturbed.
And when it comes to huge openings, a lot of people think of me.
Just call me a fuck ass.
Brilliant. Scary. I get nasty when I'm horny.
Welcome to Not Another 2001 Movie Podcast, a show exploring movies released during the first year of a chaotic century. It's time to shit on another historically questionable movie. I'm Allison.
I'm Slade.
I'm Josh, and we're so happy to have Justin back with us. You might remember him from the Spirited Away episode. Justin, welcome back, and I'm sorry.
Thank you all for having me back for what is the worst movie I will watch this year.
Oh man, I forgot to wear my suit. I forgot that Justin had said this 8 o'clock was appropriate time for a funeral. I should have worn my suit and tie today. So, is Justin our first returning guest? No, that would be Marilee, right?
Yeah. Well, first if you're only counting like the main episodes, because Marilee's first appearance was a bonus episode. But,
okay.
So he's the first in the main line to return.
Well, as a fan of Marilee and Fear Coded, I'm still saying she's our first returning guest.
Yeah, bonus episodes count, especially when they're Valentine.
Yeah. Yeah, Allison. This movie's no Valentine, that's for sure.
I would watch Valentine again before I would watch this movie.
You could watch Valentine almost 3 times.
I could watch Valentine once.
Yes, you can. You can literally watch Valentine almost 3 times. The amount of times that you can watch this movie once. That's crazy.
Question of the week. I'm not being sarcastic. I could not think of... This movie is so uninteresting and does absolutely nothing new that I was like, I can't think of anything fun to ask that hasn't already sort of been asked in prior episodes. Except for the fact I did consider asking if you all knew of any family members who'd served in World War II, although that's not like very fun. So instead, my question is, if y'all didn't have to watch this movie for this podcast, what would you have done with your time, and why would it have been a better use of it?
I'll start, I guess. For me, there's a lot of things that I don't get to watch that are passion projects that I want to be watching, that I just don't have the time for right now because of my work schedule, my schedule with my daughter, and then also doing this podcast and everything else. That there's a lot of things that I've wanted to be catching up on. So definitely probably would have ended up watching as much Daredevil Born Again Season 2 as I can, because I'm ready to be ready for that, especially when the Punisher one-shot comes out. But also I probably would have ended up watching Infinity War with my daughter, because we are going through the Spider-Man saga. She is super excited to catch the new Spider-Man movie in theaters. So we watched, Homecoming the other night. And before we get into Far From Home, she's got to see Infinity War and Endgame to just kind of figure out what's happened with the blip and everything. So that's probably what I would have done. And I could have done literally almost all 3 of those things in the time it took me to watch this movie.
Justin?
I think I have a project I've been working on for like 2 years now. That because it's so boring and tedious to do, I'm kind of artistic, but cross stitch is so boring to me. But I swore to my wife I would make her a cross stitch Donkey Kong, like 16-bit Donkey Kong. But it's so tedious as a project that I do like 50 stitches, and I'm done for like an hour, for a day even. I honestly should have just picked that up and done that while watching it. It would have been more entertaining to repeatedly stitch a needle into a felt, piece of fabric to make this gift that's 2 years late than to continue paying attention to. It took me 5 hours to watch this movie, just so you understand. I had to pause it so many times.
Me too.
To get through it, that I was like, I could have done this whole thing.
It took 4 sessions for me.
So in the time it took it took me about 4 hours to finish this movie, because about 2 hours in, literally about right as the good part's happening, where Pearl Harbor is actually getting blown up, I got a phone call, and that took about and this was I started watching this movie at about 10:30 p.m. or almost 11 o'clock, and someone called me at it was just a random thing. A buddy from back home, back in where I'm from, called me, and we talked for 45 minutes, and I was like, oh yeah, I got to go finish that movie. And it was, so I guess in 4 hours, I could have watched multiple movies that we're getting ready to cover in the coming weeks. Would have probably been the best immediate use of my time, but also I could have just slept. That would have been a lot wiser for me, and considering I had to also work the next day because I was watching it on a Sunday night. So I don't make good life choices.
Well, I did sleep because twice trying to watch this movie, I fell asleep on the couch taking a nap. So there's that. It took me 4 sessions over the course of 3 days to get through this movie. And I could have used that time to continue working on my sewing projects or watching the shows that Daredevil or The Pit, or John just told me I needed to watch some show called From on MGM Plus. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I could have been watching so many. I could have, if I wanted to see a 3-hour movie, I could have gone back to the theater and watched Project Hail Mary again. It's just, it's just a slog.
Allison, how you feel about this movie is exactly how I imagine I'm going to feel when we get to Lord of the Rings.
I know you were going to say that.
If you look over my right shoulder,
there's Fellowship of the Ring. You can see how much they care about the material.
Okay.
Michael Bay
You don't get that from this?
doesn't care about the material here, and I find that offensive. Basically, I don't know. My grandfather did serve in World War II. He was in the Navy. He was on the beaches of Normandy during Operation Overlord. So he was in the shit, the stuff that Saving Private Ryan levels of warfare. And I have this very vague memory of him talking about coming off of the ship and stepping over dead bodies and stuff. And I remember when Saving Private Ryan came out, one of my cousins was like, oh wow, this is supposed to be so realistic, and would you ever go see it? And he had a cane, and he was just hitting the cane on the floor, and he's like, I don't need to go see it, I lived through it. So
did he live to see Pearl Harbor?
I am sure he never saw this movie, but yeah, he died in 2015, so he was alive when this came out.
I would have loved to have his opinion.
He actually didn't enlist until 1942. So I think he enlisted in response to this. Anyway, well, I did this to myself because I drafted this movie. And
no,
I
you didn't.
Was like, why did I draft this movie?
You didn't draft this movie.
No, this was an automatic qualifier.
Yeah, but I picked it.
Yeah. That you're right. Yeah, because for the listener, we did. We kind of drafted out which ones we wanted to do.
It's a top 10, made the most money, and it was like, okay, I have to choose something. I guess I've never seen Pearl Harbor. I guess I'll choose it.
I believe I nominated myself for this movie because I love Kate Beckinsale, but I think that. Allison, when you said you wanted it, I was like, well, I'll find another movie. It's not a big deal.
I didn't know.
It's okay.
Well, we all did get because it is a significant movie in terms of the money and how the cultural moment around it. And we also tried to divvy them up that way. I mean, we each got a really, there were 3 kind of really huge movies coming into the year: Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, and Shrek. And you'll hear in a couple weeks Shrek. And or you have heard Shrek already, rather, and Slate had that one in charge of that one, and Allison will be in charge of Lord of the Rings later in the year, and then spoilers, I'm going to be leading the Harry Potter discussion, so
Fucking muggle.
We just kind of divvied them up to give everybody a good diverse slate of shitty movies too, because I think I've got Planet of the Apes later in the year.
Oh, man.
So,
I have Shallow Hal in a couple of weeks, and I'm like...
And you did draft that one.
You drafted that
I
one.
did
That's
draft
on
that
you,
one.
girl.
I drafted that one solely because I can't wait to shit all over it, but I was like, God, I think I'd rather watch Shallow Hal.
Man.
At least it's shorter.
Man.
Okay, anyway, if you haven't figured it out yet, that's right. We're talking about Pearl Harbor this week, in which Michael Bay attempts to recreate the magic of the cultural juggernaut Titanic. And with we'll say mixed results.
I miss you more than Michael Bay missed the mark when he made Pearl Harbor. I miss you more than that movie missed the point. And that's an awful lot, girl. And now you've gone away. And all I'm trying to say is Pearl Harbor sucked. And I miss you.
So this movie stars Ben Affleck, who I think is truly doing some of his worst work in this movie, or maybe this was like the beginning of his downslide. He stars as Rafe, and Josh Hartnett is Danny, and the two are best friends since childhood. Which the kid version of Danny, literally in the first scene, he's like, "You're my best friend," and then walks off, and I'm like, what the fuck kind of dialogue is this? Like, who says that?
You didn't talk like that to your friends growing up?
It's just, it was like
when you were 11.
That was like 5 minutes into this movie, and when he said that line, I was like, what have I done?
I need Justin to read his example of the tropes that he texted over to Josh because they're amazing.
Let me grab them real quick, because it was like right as that movie was starting. I just went, let me grab them. Where'd they go? Oh, goodness.
It was not to put you on the spot.
Put me on the spot. Where'd it go? I was just looking at, my daddy got the shell shock. My best friend got the dyslexia.
But instead of it's ma. M-A-H.
My daddy.
My daddy.
My daddy.
Shell shocks.
I mean, that whole opening just killed me. I'm not gonna lie. I was like watching it again. I'm texting Josh, being like, "Fuck you, fuck you for this movie."
I have brought this movie up like 6 times on this podcast already, but it's literally like Walk Hard when they're kids. The way they're acting is how they act in Walk Hard. It's so ridiculous.
Except it's serious.
Yeah.
My first note in this, we're not even getting into the reactions yet, but I wrote down, precocious children right out of the gate. Allison's just eating.
Okay, I gotta get through this intro. So, Kate Beckinsale is our love interest here, the object of both of their affections, and look, she looks fantastic in this movie.
Yes, she is an object.
Yes, she is an object. However, the script is dog shit, and she gets nothing to do that's of any interest besides look pretty. And rounding out some of the other major players are Alec Baldwin as General Jimmy Doolittle and John Voight as FDR, which made me laugh pretty hard considering John Voight's current view on the world. But
he's truly really good as FDR, though. Like, I really enjoyed him.
Yeah. Also, I never realized that our Kentucky boy Michael Shannon was in this movie.
Seriously, the best, probably by far
Goose.
best performance in the entire movie, and he's just a side character.
The caption spelled it Gooz. Goose.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it kind of sounds like Goose, like.
Yeah, every time they said it, I was like, "Oh, we've got a Top Gun situation here. His name's Goose." So
that's probably where he got it from.
So
probably.
As we said, this movie was a top 10 qualifier because it made a lot of money. So it grossed almost $450 million worldwide. And so Michael Bay apparently initially proposed a budget of $208 million, and it ended up being cut down to $140 million, which made him mad. But it didn't make Titanic levels of success. I mean, that's triple the budget, which is really good for a movie, right? So it made some money, and somehow it has an A- audience cinema score.
I don't even like. I saw that in your notes, and I went and like verified that just to.
You're like,
double,
she must be lying about this.
Like Allison was drinking when she wrote these notes, and it's just one of those things. I guess it's like because that's typically like that's the immediate reaction. And I think,
the A button on a keypad is only 2 letters over from F. So. She very well could have made that mistake.
I'm very curious about when they get like the audience react. Is it like when you literally walk out?
I think it's as you're walking
as soon as you walk out,
and like maybe you're, there's been a lot of movies that I've watched in the theater and I've kind of left on a high. I remember watching like X-Men 3 and then leaving and being like, oh, that was fun, and then like thinking about it later and being like, actually, that was really bad.
Yeah, there are movies that do that.
And it came out. It looks like around Memorial Day weekend of 2001. So it should. I mean, this is a jingoistic kind of movie, So it's
God,
so,
God, we're gonna get into that.
Well, and I also wonder how many of the people. I also wonder how many people like that were coming out of the theater were also like women who were just like goo guying over Ben Affleck and Josh Hartnett at the time.
I think that's part of it for sure. I mean, they good-looking guys, know.
Kate Beckinsale.
Mm-hmm.
I say it again, looks great. However, this movie is pretty critically reviled, 24% on Rotten Tomatoes, for a number of very valid reasons. There are a lot of reviews that are really funny, but again, I've got to go with my man Roger Ebert. Quote from his review: Pearl Harbor is a 2-hour movie squeezed into 3 hours. Truth.
He's cooking.
About how, on December 7th, 1941, the Japanese staged a surprise attack on an American love triangle. Its centerpiece is 40 minutes of redundant special effects surrounded by a love story of stunning banality. The film has been directed without grace, vision, or originality, and although you may walk out quoting lines of dialogue, it will not be because you admire them. It is an unremarkable action movie. Pearl Harbor supplies the subject, but not the inspiration. And that last line really sums it up in a less sarcastic way. But
that is some damning statements to say that Michael Bay did not do this film with grace, vision, or originality is rough.
Also, I feel like
awful.
I'm going to say this. Right. I like a lot of Michael Bay's movies. Nobody can blow shit up like Michael Bay, right?
Yeah. And I think for 1/3 of this movie, Michael Bay is absolutely cooking. And it's the middle part where Pearl Harbor's happening.
That's what he wanted to do. And then he shoved a bunch of shit around it.
Yeah.
Oh, my Lord. But anyway, this movie is an Oscar winner.
Hold on, Allison. Before you even get to that, we've been talking about the length of this movie. I need people to understand that when you bought this movie on DVD, it looks like a leather hardbound book, and you open up the case, and it's 2 discs, and it's literally like the Titanic VHS, where you watch part 1 of this movie on 1 disc and part 2 on the other disc. It splits in half. This movie's so long.
I think I told you all my friend's story. I don't think I told it on a recording, but in passing. So one of my friends in college, my only knowledge of this movie was she was talking about she and one of her roommates, I don't know, met these 2 guys on campus, and the guys were like, oh, let's go back to our room and watch a movie. So they're like, okay. And they get there and they're like, we're going to watch Pearl Harbor. So, and they don't
get
really
you in
know.
the mood.
Yeah, I remember you saying
and I
this,
guess okay, it's a romance, but they didn't really realize how long it was, I guess. So they start watching it, and 1, they're like, oh my God, this movie. 2, these guys are super lame. And we are stuck here for 3 hours.
3 hours?
But when they got up to, they're like, oh, we got to switch out the DVD, because we can't fit on 1.
Now's your chance, run. I have to go to the bathroom.
She and her roommate were like, oh, we have to go to the bathroom. Where's the bathroom at? They're like, oh, it's down the hall. And they ran out and never came back.
Hell yeah.
So they should be thanking Michael Bay for making this movie.
When does the movie break up on the DVD? Because I have the DVD. I didn't watch it. I have the Blu-ray. I ended up somehow I own 2 copies of this fucking movie.
It's been a minute, but I want to say right after the attack on the actual Pearl Harbor,
Oh, that makes sense because that's where the movie should end.
Yeah.
You know, they.
I'm pretty sure that's where the disc splits.
Oh my god. Okay. Yeah, this movie's an Oscar winner. It was nominated for 4 Academy Awards. 4. Best Original Song, Best Sound Editing, which it won. And I was like, who did it beat? It was only up against Monsters, Inc. And I'm like, seriously?
Okay.
By the time we get around to Monsters, Inc. later in the year, I'm going to figure out what went into this category because it's so weird. Like, I don't even understand the difference between sound and sound editing. So, I understand ostensibly the difference, but
right?
Yeah, now it's just like best sound or best sound design or something.
Okay, guys, can we all agree though that the original score for this movie does cook, right?
Music's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, like
I like it.
It's a war movie.
Was the best original song? Yeah, I mean it fits. I mean it works. I mean it's good. I mean it does its job. I don't remember feeling like it was anything super special. But was that the Faith Hill song? Was that what was nominated? There You'll Be.
It's is it Diane Warwick? Hang on, or maybe she wrote it. I literally looked this up last night and it again left my brain.
Hold on, I can pull it up here. I think I have it. Best music.
Yeah.
Music?
Okay. Written by Diane Warren. Yeah. Performed by Faith Hill.
Okay. So it's the song's good. I mean, I don't actually. I'll defend the movie in the sense that I think all of these things are even though I don't really understand the difference between sound and sound editing as far as how they assess it. If you were going to nominate this movie for Oscars, these would be the 4 that it would probably warrant being nominated for. And visual effects at the time would have just been like, I think there's a little bit more nuance there than there used to be. I mean, this was like the movie that was gonna
big special effects.
Yeah.
Also, my note here doesn't make sense because I was like, they voted for this over Fellowship of the Ring, and I'm like, no, Fellowship of the Ring's in that category. I don't know. I was losing my mind writing these notes. There's probably a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense.
There were 3 nominees that year. I'm looking. So Lord of the Rings won, and then the only other movie that was nominated was AI, Artificial Intelligence. So it was kind of speaks to where we were at the time.
All right. Fun facts about this movie. Michael Fassbender read for the part of Rafe. And the thought that you would hire German actor Michael Fassbender to play a jingoistic pilot who wants to go, well, in this case, they're focused on the Japanese, but, you know, in World War II, I don't know, I found that
Hitler
very
shows
ironic
up.
and funny. Yeah.
Honestly, Fassbender would have been amazing though as Rafe.
Oh, I don't doubt it. I think he's a great actor, but I was like, what an interesting thought.
Now I kind of want to see like Fassbender and Daniel Craig instead of Hartnett and Affleck.
You want to see Fassbender dealing with Nazis watching Glorious Bastards.
Fair.
Charlize Theron also turned down a role, but the story doesn't say what it was. She just says that she turned down a role in this movie so she could film Sweet November.
My guess would have been Betty.
Is that the nurse that dies?
Yeah, Red's fiance that dies.
Yeah, because I was like, I don't know that she's a big enough name at that time to be Kate Beckinsale, Evelyn, be that character. So I figured she was probably going to be one of the other nurses. But
What? She might have. I mean, she was in Monster. Wasn't Monster in 2000?
I think Monster might have been the year after this.
Yeah.
For a couple years.
Okay.
But they're both. It's in that same time frame, so she maybe could have been up for the lead. It's possible.
okay, in 2023, Rolling Stone had made a list of the 50 worst decisions in movie history, and they declared Pearl Harbor at number 48. So it's actually pretty low on the list.
Just that it exists, like that was.
Yes, just the choices to tell this story this way. But top 5 on this list.
Yeah, some of the things that share this list.
I'm reading these and I'm dying.
Yeah, top 5. Matt Damon turned down Avatar, and he was offered 10% off the back end, which is like 10% of the box office. So he could have made what, $250 million?
Oh yeah.
Some
Whoops.
absolutely
I'm so glad he did turn that down because I
insane amount of money.
would hate Avatar if Matt
You
Damon
know what?
was in it.
He's fine. He's doing fine. Number 4, Will Smith slapping Chris Rock at the Oscars.
That's what made me laugh. It's like,
You know what?
I'm not going to argue.
I'm pro the slap, but we'll get around to that. We can.
Yeah, we talk about that.
oh,
I'm not pro the slap. It's complicated. We'll talk about it later in the year.
Well, stay tuned for the Down to Earth bonus feature.
Ali.
Oh, Ali. Okay,
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do the double feature.
that would be fun.
Number 3, Blockbuster Video had the chance to buy Netflix back in the year 2000 for $50 million, and they turned it down.
I was aware of this one.
That's
and
wild.
I think it's interesting to think about. Actually, I don't think that's maybe as bad of a.
Yeah, I mean,
indecision as
Blockbuster
it-
would have just crashed, and then we would never have Netflix.
Yeah, they
and
might have
something
had
else
the
would
mail order, service. They might have, continued doing that. But yeah, it's weird to think that Blockbuster might have done the streaming. I mean, I know they got around to doing some streaming stuff before they went under, but it was mostly just playing catch up. So it's an interesting what if.
Number 2, Burt Reynolds and his run of turning down multiple really iconic movie roles, including James Bond, Godfather, Star Wars, Pretty Woman, and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
When Pretty Woman's the worst thing on your list in terms of like
That's wild.
iconography, like that's pretty. And he's a bit.
He was too busy making Smokey and the Bandit. And what's the movie that he's the cop in with the kid?
Oh shit!
Oh, do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
I'm
Damn
familiar
it.
with the movie too.
He's got like the snakeskin boots, and he's like, "Don't make me run."
It was the kindergarten cop for Burt
Are you
Reynolds.
Yes, it was Kindergarten Cop, but it was Burt Reynolds instead. Of course, he's in Boogie Nights too. But
Yeah, Boogie Nights. This is the second.
He was in plenty of good movies too, so but.
Since we're referencing bonus episodes all over the place on this one, if you go back and listen to the Recess bonus episodes, of all the bonus episodes, the Recess one is the only one I think that Burt Reynolds has come up in, and it's a pretty funny, kind of damning story about Burt Reynolds, in my opinion, that comes up in that show, so in the interview. So,
All right.
Rent-A-Cop.
Rent-A-Cop, that's
Yeah.
it. Yes.
You got to scroll down quite a bit
Yes.
on Google to find Rent-A-Cop.
No, it's
Oh,
not
no,
Rent-A-Cop.
Cop and a
It's
Half.
Cop and a Half.
Cop and a
Half. Yes. Cop and a Half. That's it. I watched that movie so much as a kid. Cop and a Half is so fun.
I'd rather watch Cop and a Half than this movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, number 1 on their list. Known racist John Wayne makes the Conqueror. He plays Genghis Khan himself in Yellowface. And they filmed it on nuclear test sites in the desert. 41% of the crew working on this movie developed cancer. And 1 in 5 died from those cancers, including John Wayne himself.
Sounds like it
It
sounds like it was a blessing.
Some decisions were made.
You should go. You should go read about the Conqueror.
I've
for all
seen
the details in the back. It's wild.
I've seen it. That movie.
You've seen it?
My
Oh my
great grandmother. My great
How is
grandmother.
it?
God rest her soul. At 97, 5 years ago, would watch nothing but westerns and Lassie. So we'd go over to her house, and then on her TV that had the little click would be westerns or Lassie. So she'd put on Conqueror every now and then. And as a kid, I'd watch this and be like, I don't think that's supposed to be played by a white man. I don't think that's supposed to happen, Grandma.
He made some good movies, but this was not one of them.
I've never even heard of this debacle. This seems like this should be I mean, I guess maybe I'm just not as informed as I thought I was about the history of movies, because I feel like 41% of a crew getting cancer after or that could probably be linked to that is pretty significant. Something I probably ought to know about.
Much like the movie itself, it's been whitewashed from history, Josh.
Oh,
Yeah.
You can come over. We can go watch the movie together, Josh. You'll love it.
Let's do it. do a double feature.
I
of
don't.
that
I don't
and
think they're
Pearl
going to show
Harbor.
that at the Kentucky Theater for their like classic movies in the summer.
They might.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they get some. They get some kind of. I could see that in the Friday midnight things they do.
Showing after Rocky Horror Picture Show or something, or The Room.
Good times.
Okay,
Good times.
back to Pearl Harbor. The making of this movie has been described as, we'll say, difficult, and all of this here, these quotes came from a GQ article called "The Oral History of Michael Bay." So it kind of goes through his career up to that point, and there's a lot of really funny stuff. But Dick Cook, former chairman of Disney, I think Pearl Harbor was one of the most difficult shoots of modern history. Barry Waldman, producer of several of Bay's films, I think the studio tried to shut down the movie twice. Shia LaBeouf, it's the casting. With a different cast, Pearl Harbor would be considered a masterpiece.
I don't know that I agree with Shy there, but it's funny to see him call out.
I know
the cast of a movie that he wasn't in.
The movie that he wasn't in.
That he was like a 10-year-old probably, or an 11-year-old or something.
Yeah, he had to be. Yeah.
He's about our age.
Yeah, he was a teenager. Oh, and no, with a different. I don't think a much better cast could have saved the dialogue and the writing in this movie.
Kate Beckinsale does nothing wrong in this film. Okay.
She does nothing in this film.
Look, it's not her fault.
Yeah, she does nothing in this film.
She's really good at standing there and sometimes screaming.
I love her.
So these next two quotes go together, and I laughed so hard. I like read this out loud to one of my coworkers. Who's really
I just read what Michael Bay said. Oh my god.
Yeah. Okay.
Honestly, respect.
These two quotes go together. Okay. So this is Casey Hodenfield, he served as first director on a lot of Michael Bay's films. Quote, so Michael was saying he was going to go about the movie differently. He was going to hold shots longer. He wasn't going to move the camera as much. This was going to be like a classic movie. So in other words, he's trying to make like a classy, like Oscar picture.
Yeah, big epic, you know.
The first day we started shooting, he wasn't using his fast-moving, fast cuts, low shots, his bag of tricks. And it was like watching an Italian speak without his hands. By lunchtime, we're making a Michael Bay movie in the Michael Bay style. Now, Michael Bay's response, I don't change my style for anybody. Pussies do that.
Yeah, let's go.
Yo, I love it, Michael. It's amazing.
I'm with you. Like, this movie sucks. Like, spoiler reactions before we get there. This movie sucks, but I too actually enjoy several Michael Bay movies. So
look,
like
listen, guys, this movie is head and shoulders far, 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 far beyond above Pain and Gain. So that has to be the worst Michael Bay movie I've ever seen. If we're shitting on Michael Bay, that's the movie with The Rock and Mark Wahlberg and Anthony Mackie. It is one of the worst 5 movies I've ever watched.
Yeah.
Okay. So this next little bit of information is kind of at the crux of my complete disdain for this movie. So I couldn't find the actual source because, for the record, when I'm looking through, like, if I'm looking on Wikipedia, I will go to the source and read the source because I want to make sure that, like, it's been quoted accurately, whatever. So I couldn't find this, but it's popped up in lots of different places that says that basically Michael Bay wanted this movie to be rated R, which makes sense, I guess. And because he wanted to show the horror of war. But then he thought, like, it's important for children, teenagers, younger people to be able to see this movie, which I'm like, I presume because you're making a quote unquote historical movie and people should watch it, on the level of, I don't know, Saving Private Ryan. So Disney asked him to cut it back to PG-13, and he did. But his director's cut is rated R. So that's why I think this story probably does have merit somewhere. He probably said this in an interview because of his director's cut being so much gorier, knowing that that's what he planned for. I watched the regular version. I haven't seen the director's cut. I was reading people saying that they're like, oh, the PG-13 version was so much more sanitized. Like the rated R one is pretty gory and hard to watch in spots, which I was like, okay, interesting choice. Again, romantic drama here.
Yeah, it speaks to the tone, like the weird trying if you're trying to blend that violence with the tone, because there's I'll talk more about it when we get into the reactions, because I think there is some interesting things attempting to be done here that just there was no way it was ever going to gel together given what it is, but it strikes me as odd to ever think though that you would go into making something like this as an R-rated movie, because clearly even though 2001 is a little, I think, less cynical about this stuff than we are today. It's just strange to think that this movie ever would have been anything but PG-13 for like trying to capture like a mass audience, you know?
Yeah.
I think he's just trying to show how brutal war was at the time, and that's probably like that portion of it. It makes me feel like maybe he should have done Black Hawk Down and Ridley Scott should have done this movie.
I will
might
say
have gotten better
this movie
versions.
makes me love Black Hawk Down comparatively. Like if we're talking war movies.
I kept thinking, I was like, Josh Hartnett's in both of these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. God, I lost my train of thought. This movie broke my brain, you guys.
Can I jump in real quick? I did want to bring up the writer because I didn't see anything about him, and I honestly hadn't really thought to look him up till now. He wrote Braveheart. That was his first screenplay. Randall Wallace is the guy's name, which that was nominated for Best Original Screenplay. And then a lot of junk, including this. Secretariat was probably the next most notable thing. And then after that, he's not really done. It's like, I think he's kind of turned into a Christian activist. Looks like he's working with Mel Gibson on his Jesus movies that are coming out soon.
Okay.
So
Fun.
Okay. What I was getting back to, the weird blending of tone in this movie. It's very clear to me that he's kind of aping he's trying to go for like the intensity of a Saving Private Ryan, but with like the broad appeal of Titanic and the romance of Titanic. Look, I think Titanic has really terrible dialogue, actually. I think Leonardo DiCaprio's pretty bad in that movie. For what a good actor he is, it just looks like he's just like, this is dog shit and I'm not giving a fuck. But like in that movie, you can feel how much James Cameron just loves the story of the Titanic. It comes across in the details. It comes across and he's the big centerpiece is this ship has got to sink, and he like delivers that on every level. Like it's you get the horror of everything that's happening, and it feels like that's what Bay is going for here, and I'm like, man, it is not working.
And notably, it happens at the end of the movie in Titanic, and it is
right.
Constitutes like a big chunk of the end of the movie.
Yeah, it's building and building and building to that moment, and
Well, and even then, in Titanic, you have a lot more chemistry between Kate Winslet and Leo than you do with Leonardo or Ben Affleck and Kate Beckinsale, or Josh Hartnett and Kate Beckinsale. And of course, like not only that, but the love triangle in Pearl Harbor is more problematic in the sense because, like, one, if you're the dude's best friend, that's just absurd, Danny. But two, and the love triangle that happens in Titanic seems more realistic, and you have like a legit villain in Cal, but it's like he's providing her the lifestyle that she thinks she's supposed to have, and her mother wants her to have, and she's throwing it all away for essentially a homeless man. And so like it's just the dynamics are just way different.
There's some stakes to it.
Yeah, exactly. And then not only that, but like we're supposed to believe that Kate Beckinsale stabbed Ben Affleck in the ass with a needle, and 3 weeks later they haven't seen each other, but now they're madly in love with each other. Okay.
Forever
That's never happened to you?
No.
All right, so last thing. I'm not going to get into the historical inaccuracies.
Of which there are plenty.
So this movie paints the whole attack on Pearl Harbor and the Doolittle raid in very, very broad strokes. So I'm not going to say like, oh, it's completely wrong. It's just, there's so many details that were changed for the purpose of being more cinematic And so I've linked to two articles here that list out a lot of the historical inaccuracies, and they are from military experts commenting on this.
Name the title of the first one, please.
Yeah, I've cracked up at this all weekend.
Oh, I did too. This is from Naval History Magazine, and the headline, the title of this article is just "Pearl Harbor bombed again." And then the other one is War History Online: the endless historical errors made in the Pearl Harbor movie.
Not nearly as fun, more factual. That first one is pure journalism.
That first one is, yeah.
that is A1 journalism.
Yeah, how would your dad grade that headline, Justin?
He would love that headline. That would be a top tier. Like, that's going to get people to actually buy the newspaper again headline.
Absolutely. If I saw a headline on a newspaper on the front page that said the endless historical errors made by Pearl Harbor, the movie, I'd be like, I'll glance at it. If I saw a headline that said Pearl Harbor bombed again, I'm buying that.
Oh, you're clicking on it.
I'm buying that shit.
I'll tell you that the second one is definitely an Atlantic headline. That's the Atlantic, some New Yorker bullshit headline where it's like, only the wealthiest master's and doctorate degree people will read this. Here you go.
Right. Give me the National Enquirer.
Right. The New York Post headline: Pearl Harbor bombed again.
Bat Boy finds Pearl Harbor.
All right, let's talk about this movie. I'm going to be totally honest. So I watched this movie over 4 days, and I just watched it to watch it, and then I was like, oh my god, I've got to take notes on this.
No, you didn't have to. You made that choice.
Well, I'm trying to be a good podcaster, and if I could have walked in here and just been like, y'all talk about this movie, I'm just going to sit back and watch.
You know what my first note after Precocious Kids was? Horny nurses.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's how invested I was in the note-taking process.
Well, me too. And I was like, I normally watch the movies multiple times, and I'll go back and I'll note, okay, this scene, and we did this and this. And I was like, I don't think I can go back and watch every single scene and note it. So I used ChatGPT.
Oh,
and I
Allison.
And so it picked out these scenes, and then I just made some notes below it based on the scenes.
I'm so disappointed in you.
I know. Look, this is what it's brought me to.
Pearl Harbor.
Okay, let's talk about this shitty opening.
But they pay off the opening at the end when he says, "Hey, Danny, you want to go flying?"
Yep.
What?
You know?
Okay, so
symmetry and symbolism. It's Hollywood magic. All right, I'm sorry.
Okay, we gotta get through this as fast as possible. We meet young Rafe and Danny. They're playing in a crop duster plane, so you're getting that they're obsessed with flying. Rafe's dad seems cool. He hops out of the plane after he's done his crop dusting, and he's like, "Hey boys, how's it going?" and just waves and walks off, and I guess leaves the key in the plane because he's a great parent, I suppose. And they jump in, accidentally start the plane up, take flight briefly. I was just like, oh god. And then Danny's dad, William Fichtner, great character actor William Fichtner, shows up for 10 seconds to play Danny's dad as some sort of wild hobo. And he screams "Don't hang out with this kid, he can't read." And I was like, what? So
my best friend's got dyslexia.
He's got the dyslexias. So Danny seems, based on his dad's appearance and actions, I'm like, it seems like Danny maybe comes from a poorer family. And in fact, that Rafe's dad has a plane. I guess he has more money, but Rafe is the one with dyslexia. So the poor dad is, how dare you hang out with this kid who can't read? It's such a strange choice. So then, Rafe or Danny grabs a board and beats his own dad with it. And, Rafe grabs the board because the dad is beating his own son. Yeah. And when he screams, "You're a dirty German." And for whatever reason, that calms him down. Sure.
I was fighting the Germans.
I was fighting the Germans.
He's got the shell shock.
I hope nobody ever has to see what I saw. And then he just walks off. Okay.
Allison, there was a point
and
you
then
said...
we leave these kids.
Sorry. There was a point you said, the movie should have ended at Pearl Harbor. The movie should have ended with the kids crashing the plane into the cornfield. And that's it. That's the movie. We're done. We don't have to sit through any more of it. It's over.
That could have been a choice that I would have appreciated.
You know, I wondered if if this was the first scene they shot, because it felt a little bit Bay-like in some, like it did sort of have some of those different kind of shots that you were talking about earlier in the notes.
Like he's trying to go for like a classy style, a classy like older movie style. Oh, okay. So then we cut to they're in training. They're both. I was confused about this. I had to go look it up because they kept saying they're in the Army, and I'm like, you're flying planes, aren't you in the Air Force? But the Air Force didn't exist as a separate branch until 47, I think. So they're technically Army, but they're pilots. They would be considered Air Force now. They're playing chicken because why not? Totally responsible. This is like a Top Gun Maverick type of move. They're flying these B-52 bombers at each other, and last minute cutaway, don't hit, but it knocks the hats off of everybody else who's watching.
That is fun though, right? Where he's like, you go left, right, left, and they're that's fun, right?
Sure.
Okay.
I'd rather be watching Top Gun.
Well, this is 1942 Top Gun.
For a minute.
1941. Actually, no, this is I think this is pre-41.
It'd be like, I think it was early 41.
We meet Alec Baldwin here as General James Jimmy Doolittle. He's kind of lecturing Ben Affleck, and then offers him the opportunity to go fly for the British Army, the Eagle, which is the Eagle Squadron, which Rafe accepts. And then I'm getting these probably all out of sequence again because I could not watch this movie close enough. But they all have to like be approved to be admitted into the Navy or whatever, so that they can actually serve in combat. And this is where we meet all the horny nurses.
Yeah.
As Josh said, so we first kind of meet them on a train, and Evelyn is our main nurse, Kate Beckinsale, and she's just kind of flashing back to like, oh, I met this like, handsome pilot. And then we kind of see the beginning, which is, yes, they've got to go through and get their vaccines, because I guess this was a time when when vaccines were, the true miracle that they are. So the military required them. And
yeah, now this movie's woke.
This movie is woke. Evelyn does our country a disservice by passing a guy who doesn't deserve to pass the eye exam because he can't read.
But he's the best damn pilot, and that file says so.
You don't need to know how to read. You can fly a plane.
He's like he is what they don't say dyslexic because I'm sure that did not exist as a term back then. But he just says, "Well, I get letters mixed up sometimes." And I'm like, I feel like it might be important to be able to like read the dashboard on your plane. I don't know.
Why did he have that character trait? Do you have anybody have any sort of inkling other than just to contrive something goofy?
I don't.
Because
makes
this
it more
is the
interesting.
last point that it matters too. Like it doesn't. There's no other point. Like this is the end
I had
of
this
that
in my
conversation.
notes later, but
like,
he's writing her letters from Britain, and
that
they're like
seem
these
well
poetic,
written.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, are half the letters backwards?
Yeah, shouldn't he have had like a British soldier write them for him?
Yeah,
And read them for him too?
Yeah, I'm not sure why this is such an issue at the beginning, because it plays no bearing on the plot later whatsoever. Like kind of the same thing with the one pilot who stutters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just does
Oh, no, that
it.
pays-
and
that
kinda
pays
goes
off
away,
later.
too. Yeah, like
That-
with when the bomb
With
I
the
guess
joke.
at least it does.
Jobs are here!
It was like Simple Jack
Yeah.
levels of. I'm like, they're kind of playing him for comedy, but then
Simple
trying
Jack.
not to, and
You make me happy.
Oh my
Oh.
This movie
Anyway,
so
so yes, Ben Affleck and Evelyn are, having this flirtatious interaction, and he wants to thank her because, you passed me for this exam that you shouldn't have passed me for, and I'm going to pretend to be another soldier, and I accidentally took his vaccine too, so now I'm going to pass out on the floor. They don't have any chemistry.
Zero.
Ben Affleck and Kate Beck, it's not working.
I disagree there. I think anybody could look at Kate Beckinsale and have
you've got
chemistry.
to set aside
like-
your love for Kate Beckinsale and look at everything else around her.
Yeah, I can look at plenty of people
I
and
don't
think they're hot.
I don't.
That doesn't
Okay.
mean I'm gonna.
I don't
I
think
just-
it's. I don't think it's their fault. I think it's the piss poor writing. I think that they're supposed to immediately fall in love is really stupid and absurd, and then she hasn't seen him since this, and now they're meeting in New York or wherever they are in the city to like have a night out before they all go back away, and they're in love. It's wild. It's just stupidity.
I'm just gonna
Greatest
say,
night of their life.
I'm just gonna say, Slate. He has more chemistry with the champagne cork than he does with Kate Beckinsale throughout the entire movie. Okay, like
Well, he has
the way he looks
That's
at
the
that
best
bottle,
acting he does in the whole movie.
it's
When he starts to cry. It's so
He has
good.
more-
Yeah.
He has more chemistry with Danny.
Danny?
Like, let's be
Yeah.
real. Like, this movie is if they should be the ones getting it on. Like,
Fear Coded would definitely say this movie is gay.
Yeah,
and that they're right.
It is. I mean, let's be real here about what's really going on.
And so I think it's also because Ben Affleck is trying to do that. They're from Tennessee, right? That's what the opening childhood thing said. And he's trying to do this Southern accent, and he sounds so dumb. It's not working. Hartnett sounds at least more real as kind of a Southern boy, but I'm Team Hartnett in this love triangle. By the way, I hate everything Ben Affleck does in this movie.
I kind of, I think part of why it fails for me is like I don't really care. Like I'm not really like rooting for either one of them at any point in it. It's like it kind of just washes over me, as I'm watching what happened and just think, okay, like I don't care who ends up with who in this weird
it goes back
situation.
to the Titanic thing of you care about Rose and Jack because you get to spend all this time with them and you understand her turmoil in the back, and there's like none of that here. We don't know anything about Kate Beckinsale aside from like she's a nurse.
Well, and
attractive.
also, yeah, there's nothing to her, and I guess she's just, that's it. But also, like the triangle itself really doesn't have anything to it because to me, it is a love triangle, but it's only a triangle because one of the people went off to Britain and presumably was killed, and like, well, guess what? Life has to go on. You got to move on, and it's very common experience in this sort of scenario where you would end up falling for someone else. Like it's like if your wife or whatever or your husband died, you would a lot of times people would end up with like their brothers and stuff. Like it's not a very uncommon experience. Like so, like it's just there's nothing. To me, when Ben Affleck comes back from the dead and shows up,
and he's so mad.
It's the way he responds to Danny.
But I'm like, bro,
he knew the word.
Am I tripping?
They thought you died months ago.
Justin, am I tripping?
He was in Britain infinitesimally longer than he knew her. Like he was away, dead, fake dead.
Yeah, he was alive
for way
in another
longer
country.
Than he knew her. He just liked
he was
her
gone for months.
Yeah, he was.
But it's okay for his friend to just like
who knows her better. The friend knows her better.
Okay, we're getting to that. He asked.
What?
So Rafe leaves for Britain. Okay, I'm gonna go. I get to go be in combat. Yay! So I'm gonna tell Danny that I was told to do this, but I'm gonna tell Evelyn the truth that I volunteered for it because he doesn't want Danny to go because he
really loves Danny.
But he tells Danny when he leaves, take care of Evelyn. He took care of Evelyn.
Yeah.
Oh, he took care of her, all right.
He took care of her.
Yeah, I mean, you called me a lousy friend. Well, yeah.
I mean, can it honestly constitute a love triangle when, in movie language, there's like 10 minutes of them on screen together loving the same woman, Pearl Harbor happens, then the one dies. Like, is it
They
really?
spend more time. The real relationship is them, and they literally. I think if you went frame by frame, they probably spend more time touching each other in this movie than they do Evelyn. Either one of them.
Yeah.
Like if we're being
100%.
Yeah, I'm not
That's a
going back.
crime against humanity.
I'm not
That
going
is such a
back.
crime.
I'm not going back to dissect it. I don't need to watch this movie again, especially at that precise level of detail. But I would not be stunned if they're like shaking hands or hugging or whatever more.
Or fighting.
Or fighting. Like, yeah, any kind of contact is happening between those two guys way more
Okay. Which also brings me to my bullet here. Are we really supposed to believe that the night before he leaves, Evelyn wants to have sex with him and he's like, no, it just... I need something to look forward to when I come back. And I'm like,
it's a really dumb line. I believe it's a really dumb line.
He was scared. Evelyn was going to throw that thing on him, and he didn't know what to do with himself.
You're not Danny.
And I honestly think the only reason they did that was so that it was really clear that it's Danny's child that she's carrying later.
Oh, yeah, probably. Yeah.
Absolutely. Allison, I need to know.
They
Go
wanted
ahead.
to make the point that, like, oh, Rafe has to raise Danny's kid.
Mm-hmm.
I literally think that's because I'm like, what man in his right mind?
Right.
I think you're right. That's why they did it.
Yeah. Allison, I need to know from your female perspective here. Which date is better? Stealing a police boat and checking out the city and the harbor, or stealing a plane and checking out Pearl Harbor at sunset?
So one of the like historical inaccuracy things that I read, they had people from the Pentagon and the Navy as consultants on this movie.
Oh God.
But apparently there were lots of things that they were like, well, it would happen this way, and Michael Bay's like, nah.
Yeah, let's go,
and
brother.
one of the things specifically that they were like,
he doesn't change his style for anybody, pussy.
That's for pussies. One of the things that they said, they were like, okay, Michael Bay was like, oh, I want to have Danny, like, sneak and get his plane and take her for the sunset ride or whatever. And they were like, well, he would never be able to get his own plane because they're under lock, we know. But, people rent private planes. He could totally, like, just go get another plane, like, pay for it and rent it and take her around. And that would, like, make sense. But no, it had to be more dramatic and cinematic. He's got to steal the plane, which just makes, like, the people that work at Pearl Harbor look like idiots because they can't even keep track of, like, their own stuff.
That's fine.
Well, and then when they get back, you get the amazing dialogue. Hey, that plane was supposed to be back an hour ago.
Oh my God. Also, I hated the whole Ben Affleck's like, don't come see me off. No, it would just be too hard to say goodbye. And then he's like, this is my test. If she actually shows up, then that means she loves me. And I was like, God.
Yeah, we're in middle school,
Yeah, yes, this is middle school behavior.
Well, they are, like, technically, what, like, 17, 18-year-old
I mean,
boys?
I guess they are kids, probably,
I think
technically.
one of the nurses said she's...
Yeah, she's like 17.
Betty is 17, and Red is 19.
Yeah.
So really, this is just college, really, is what we're watching. Like, we're just watching college.
Yeah, we're just watching frat boys with machine guns attached to wings.
Pearl Harbor edition.
All right, moving on. So, this is the calm before the storm. So, Danny and Evelyn are still at Pearl Harbor, living their best lives. I laughed at... So, like, they're doing all this fun stuff, and, like, she's sitting on a beach in this bikini, like...
Yes, she
looking
is.
at this beautiful sunset, and her friends are laughing, and she's writing a letter that's just basically like, life is so terrible without you. And I'm like, no, it's not. Like,
you got it made, huh?
You got it made. Like, this looks like paradise.
It really gives off Sandy in Grease vibes, like writing her letter to Danny Zuko.
Yeah. So this is the thing I mentioned earlier, like some of the things this movie's trying to I think attempt to convey, even if accidentally. I do like just how ridiculous the entire American operation seems prior to the Pearl Harbor actually happening. It comes off in this movie. I mean, it's like surreal how idiotic.
It seems unserious.
Yeah,
and I think that's a lot of, like, real military officers' beef with it is just like, come on, man.
But I think, and that's, I love that as a choice, if it was the choice, because it being kind of forgiving, because it's echoes the kind of the the American, like, we're just going to be neutral, sort of, kind of stay out of this sort of sentiment at the time, even though we were kind of helping a little bit, but not, this atrocities are happening across the way, and we're just going to try not to interfere too much with what's going on, and
we're just gonna surf and
we're gonna live our best lives.
And
well, see, I think part of that is at least what I interpreted it as, even as a kid at this time when all this happens. Like, let's realize, this movie came out 3.5 months before 9/11 happens, right? And part of the problem that 9/11 stemmed from is essentially, Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein feel like we have to stick our nose in everybody else's business and help people when it's not affecting us, and, insert ourselves into their business, right? But, like, I think that all of that whole mind state that America was based off of came from when we weren't doing that, Pearl Harbor happened. So now we have to be proactive. And I distinctly remember, like, in the early 2000s, like, being told in, history classes and stuff that, like, yes, if something is going on where that, one country is doing another country wrong and there's, a dispute there, like, we try to proactively step in and either help or mediate and do things to take care of this before it grows into something much bigger that will affect us. And so I think that's kind of what they're trying to hammer home at this point in the movie, where we're, like, just trying to keep our heads in the sand, and then Pearl Harbor happens.
So, or you could do what happens today, which is, mock the president of a country being bombed, and just create more problems. But
absolutely.
This is where I taught history for a decade. I was a history teacher, taught AP US, AP Euro, all that fun stuff. Like, this is possibly part of the only movie that I really wish that it's a 3-hour movie. I didn't want any more. They should have, like, cut out 2 hours of it and just expanded upon this part, because, like you all are kind of talking about, the U.S. military in Pearl Harbor was super unprepared. Like, except they had no... There's a throwaway line where they talk about how they put all the planes inside of, like, hangars, which is why he could never steal a plane. And they did that because...
They mentioned corralling all the ships to be close together, so it'll be easy to keep track of them or something.
They were worried. They were truly worried that Japanese people in Hawaii would sabotage the planes. So they put the planes in the hangars because they're like, well, if they're hangars, they can't get to them. And so when the Japanese fly over Pearl Harbor, it's like, oh, all their planes are inside of hangars. If we blow up the hangars... They can't get them out. They can't get them out. And this was, like, a pretty consistent thing, was that we totally underestimated the Japanese. We never thought they would go to Pearl Harbor. We thought they would go to the Philippines, which they did attack simultaneously as Pearl Harbor. Like, we only thought they would go to the Philippines. So we were like, there's no way they're coming to us. Ever.
Yeah, we felt like Pearl Harbor was too far. Like,
it was too far.
They're not going to take the extra miles just to, come bomb our, biggest strength that we have as far as our Air Force fleet goes. But
I also don't think that this movie... I was trying to think of, let's say a Gen Z or Gen Alpha person today watch this movie without having learned anything about Pearl Harbor. I'm like, I don't think that they would understand why the Japanese did this to us.
They'd have no reason. No, it never goes into
it. You keep showing footage of, they're like, oh, Hitler, bad, World War II, bad. Oh, but here's the Japanese over here. And, like, I think you'd be like, what? Why are they?
It is funny how much of a background element the entire Japanese part of this really is. Like,
the Japanese, they do make a statement basically saying, like, we have to get into the fight because I forgot what it was, but, like, their economy or something is, like, running low, or they're getting ready to lose it.
Part of it is, Justin, you can speak to this.
Their oil.
Like, we cut off oil and resources, but also they wanted to try to decimate. I mean, Hawaii is far away from Japan, but it's the closest, I guess, U.S. base. So they wanted to decimate like the biggest fleet as well.
So it's kind of a combination. It's like 5 minutes of history knowledge here.
Yeah, let's do it. We need some facts on this show.
It's kind of a combination of things. So they want the Philippines. There's a thing called the Pan Asian friendly zone. It's essentially something like that they want to create, where essentially they just take over all of Asia and they claim it. And so the Philippines is part of that. So they want the Philippines. They want territory we own in Southeast Asia. Funnily enough, the Vietnamese, who we will then fight like 20 years later, are fighting a war simultaneously against the French and the Japanese because they want both of them gone. So they're fighting a single war against both sides of this war. In response to this, we freeze their oil assets and their money that they have stored in U.S. banks. So we have all of their money that they have tied here, and all of the oil that we were selling them, we are no longer selling them. So they have no resources to continue building up the mechanization they need to subjugate China, which they, again, throwaway line that, the Chinese are fighting. It's like, well, the second or third worst moment in world history happened in China. So let's just throw that out the window. Let's not talk about that at all. But because of that, the idea was that if they attacked Pearl Harbor, where we held most of our fleet, we would be so handicapped because we would have to take the fleet from the eastern half, which we were using to supply the British, by literally taking barges, attaching planes to them, and then pushing them into the ocean until they hit Canadian waters. Then the Canadians would grab the planes and take them to Britain. That was literally how the Lend-Lease Act worked. We'd get a barge, we'd put planes on it, tanks on it, and then shove it into the ocean.
They just found them anyway.
And it's like, this just happened to be there. It's really weird how that worked out, isn't it? And so we'd have
next to Pablo Escobar's cocaine.
Just right there. And so we would have to divert that, which we were really wanting to use, to go to the Pacific to deal with the Japanese. So their thought was that if they could do one giant attack and knock out all of our fleet and conquer the Philippines at the same time, we would not want to deal with it anymore. We would just back off completely. And they made the error that on that day, like half of the ships weren't in the port anyways. They were doing exercises. It was just very bad timing on their part, because had all of the ships been in there, they would have decimated the fleet, and it would have probably changed the outcome of that war. So I wish it had gone to that a little bit more, because you're right, Allison. They don't really explain, like, the Japanese just all of a sudden are like, that's a kite. Wouldn't it be cool if we bombed Pearl Harbor?
Yeah. But I was even thinking, I'm like, I was just thinking, like, a Gen Z person see all this World War II Hitler Nazi footage, and then we cut to like Japan. They're out there. They're part of the Axis powers, but it's not like they're working together necessarily.
Well, that was like,
it's more like we're gonna let them do we've got this to do.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like they're like working with Hitler.
Yeah, they're like on the same side of the technically the same side of the war, but it's why they're in the war is completely
they have different goals.
Yeah,
yes,
it's totally different outlooks on everything, totally different mentalities on everything. The fun fiction of that era is, if they had won, how would they have fought? Because there's no way they would have had, they were both too militaristic to actually side together for much longer than they would have naturally. They ended up actually siding together.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing, again, I said this a second ago, but like, I'll talk about this on my reaction later, I promise, but you don't have to make the Japanese look evil in World War II. They committed some of the worst atrocities in that entire war, and that's saying something. You don't have to make them evil later on in the movie with made-up bullshit. Like, just give us a hint of what they're doing in Japan or in China to make them be like, oh, well, maybe we don't want the Japanese to win this war.
See, I thought it was interesting because they keep, also the Japanese like leaders are having their meetings like outside in like a courtyard, or I was like, what is going, and there's all this like very clearly like Asian coded I don't know. I thought the whole thing, I was like, this seems completely unrealistic. But they very intentionally kind of show, he's what's his name, Yamamoto, being like, hesitant and having the lines of I mentioned one
A
later.
wise man would learn how not to
Not
fight
to
this
fight
war.
war, yeah.
And then saying, I fear we've awoken a sleeping giant, which is actually a line they stole from Tora, Tora, Tora.
A much better movie.
But one
This
of the
movie's
reviews
just
I
lifting
read,
left and right from
Right.
better movies.
right. And one of the reviews I read was saying that, like, is this their attempt to, we're not going to go too hard on the Japanese because we don't want Americans to, be beating them in the street again or whatever. So we're going to show that, like, there were some people that were reserved when it was basically one guy.
I think they handled them with care. They're even showing the kamikaze pilot, or I guess he's not a kamikaze, but the fighter pilot.
They try to
from the
humanize
Japan
him,
side,
so,
try to humanize him. Yeah,
It is. That's a good thing to bring up, though, because it does speak to like just how different our relationship with Japan, and we talked a lot about this when Justin was on the last time, was by this point versus then, and it makes doing this, if you're going to do it in a very mass commercial way, you're gonna end up kind of neutering a lot of that stuff, probably in a way that is a disservice to the facts and the history, and honestly maybe to them making a more interesting movie.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just get through these notes, get through this movie. Yeah, so they get a telegram. Rafe is reported to be killed in action because he's shot down over over the English Channel? I can't remember. Over
thereabouts.
Anyway.
Somewhere around, yeah.
He's shot down over water.
Looked very dead.
Yeah. Evelyn, devastated. Danny slides into her DMs real quick.
That's not the only thing he slides into, Allison.
I love that they like hang out a few times and then suddenly he's just like, okay, I'm going to go to her house late in the evening. And
you forgot your handkerchief.
This hanky.
You forgot your handkerchief, but then ask if we can like hang out later.
They were in middle school, y'all. I'm telling you. Like.
I know. All right. So they bond and then they sleep together pretty quick. And where are they having sex?
In an airplane hangar.
Right. Oh, right. Because I was like, why are there sheets everywhere? Why is all this like gauzy? It looks like an Aerosmith video. Like, what is this?
If Michael Bay had not used, if Michael Bay had not used,
Don't Want to Miss a Thing.
Don't Want to Miss a Thing for Armageddon, it would have been in this movie. I'm telling you.
These were left over from that shoot.
Oh my god. Yeah, at first I was like, are they in a tent? And I'm like, no, they like left that plane and that. Oh god, where are they? Yeah, they're definitely not like in a house or somewhere that would make sense. But I mean, I don't blame her. He's pretty hot in this movie. So.
I love that he's like, I was wondering if can I call you? If I call you, maybe I could come over sometime.
When you're out.
He showed up in Armageddon.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so
and she's like, yeah, okay. And he's like, oh, okay then.
So they cut to like the morning after where he is such an eager little puppy and he's like, oh my god, and she's practicing her speech where I guess she's going to be
she's
like,
going to let him down easy.
You got to let him down easy. But
and he's like, guess what? I love you too.
Oh my god. We get to a scene where Evelyn takes too long in the bathroom. Whoop. Oh no, she's pregnant.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to hide this relationship, but it's funny that everyone is basically like, why are y'all hiding? Rafe's dead. You got to move on with your...
Yeah,
exactly. Everybody's encouraging it. It's crazy.
This is the appropriate response to this situation. Yeah. You barely knew this dude.
But they don't even, that's the problem though. They don't even say that. They don't say that. They're like, oh my God, she's heartbroken. She should be heartbroken. She loved him so much, even though she'd only spent maybe 6 hours total in her entire life with this man. And then they're like, you know what? It's been 3 months. Get over it. Sleep with his best friend.
Hey, they stayed horny the whole movie. These nurses, they were.
Yeah, we should also mention that the other nurses have kind of paired off with some of the other, including the one who stutters gets Betty, who's played by Jamie King, by the way.
Red, yeah.
Red, yeah.
Can a guy propose?
I'm like, would you really not understand what he's doing when he gets down on one knee?
He's like, please stand up, please, get off your knee.
He says that just fine, by the way. No issue there.
Yeah.
It's the stutter from Cable Guy.
Yeah.
Oh, Rafe's alive, and he just shows up. Just shows up.
That's how that
He
works.
walks right up to her.
Just gets to
outside.
walk
What?
right into a military base, no
Yeah.
problem.
And then Josh Hartnett runs in right behind. He's like, "Oh yeah, I meant to tell you. I heard that he was alive." the whole thing is staged so weirdly.
He's just as shocked as she is. I feel like that
Yeah,
to
'cause
see
it's-
Rafe,
'cause
but
it's
then he's
real
also like,
true love is just-
Oh
snap,
fuck. Yeah.
yeah. Remember
Anyway.
that thing I did the other night? Oops.
Yeah, so Rafe is really mad, which I mean, I kind of get, but I'm also like, dude, they thought you were dead. And he gets in a fight.
Yeah, his
I would be mad.
Yeah, his response is valid.
It
It's the fact that no one else is calling him out on the bullshit is what's
there
Like,
are,
look, I could understand
like-
if this was a year and a half, 2 years after he's dead. It's 3 months, bro.
We're talking wartime.
We're ta- like,
He died.
They ain't got time to lose.
There are 1,000 horny nurses in the background that
Yes!
he could have picked up, and he'd have been fine.
Exactly.
No, Rafe,
He
Rafe
chose
could
her.
have picked up.
No. Danny could have picked up.
Look, it's like we
what?
have seen this happen in real life. Does no one remember that Hunter
crazy.
Biden married his sister-in-law
That's crazy.
in like 2 months? Okay, so let's just not forget this happens.
and I hope his dead brother haunts her forever.
There's many things haunting that man. I don't think it's his dead brother.
Just, I mean, yeah, bro.
No,
I
I'm sorry.
know.
Rafe is ridiculous in this movie. He is. Again, plane crash death.
Agreed.
Let's just get him out of here.
Yeah, I agree, Justin.
Okay,
Okay.
time out. Hold on. All right, Justin. All right. Are you married, sir?
Yes.
Okay, you're married. All right. You died in a car wreck, but you didn't die, but everybody
Okay.
thought you died. 3 months later, Josh is now married to your wife that's no longer your wife because you're not dead.
Polygamous situation.
You wouldn't be mad? You wouldn't be
I
mad,
have-
Josh?
We're not even talking married.
But let me put it this way.
Yeah, they are
Even
married.
worse, he's just got her pregnant. I'm sorry.
Rafe has known Kate Beckinsale for 6 months, 6-ish months. Okay,
Spent 6 hours total of his
Like-
life
yeah,
with her.
like I've been married to my wife for 12, 13, 14.
It's wartime.
11
Time
years
doesn't
of
matter,
this time.
Justin.
11 years, sure, I'll be a little upset. I'm not gonna lie. It's like if I know this person for 3 months, I'm like, you think I'm dead? You kind of get over me finally after like 3 or 4 months. That's understandable.
But they had plans.
Did they? Did they? You know who got those plans?
That's what kept
Danny.
him going.
Danny got those plans. Maybe if Rafe had slept with her before leaving, she would have been like, "Oh my God,
Right.
Ben Affleck's so great at this, I won't have to go to anyone else."
Danny,
Right.
Danny's that gif of the dude in the yellow suit sitting behind the tree, just rubbing his palms together, like he's gonna go to Great Britain, and I'm gonna slide on in when he dies.
I almost wish at some point before Rafe dies that Danny shows any interest in her, because it comes
Yeah.
out of
That would have
left
made
field.
it more compelling.
It
That
does
would have
come
made
out
it.
of left
It would have
field.
made it interesting
Yeah.
if like he showed even like a tiny snippet of a scene where he's like, I kind of like this woman too. No, every
Yeah,
scene
the
is just
bond-
like,
If they were like
trauma.
competing for her, and then Rafe wins, and he's like, "You won.
Yeah.
She's yours."
That
Yeah.
makes it,
You know?
and that makes it even a little different. Like
Yeah, that
they're,
would definitely.
but they're
make it
they're
work.
trauma bonding.
well, how
you
could
know?
he get to
Like,
know her because Ben Affleck only knew her for 6 hours, so
Yeah, he didn't have time.
he didn't have time.
he got stabbed
He
in the
stole
ass,
a police boat for her.
and Danny stole
And Rafe
a plane
and
from a locked
Danny stole
hangar.
a military plane.
I know,
Yeah,
I think
like,
Danny's is more
advantage Danny.
impressive.
Danny's is more impressive,
Yeah.
not gonna lie.
All right. I'm done defending Rafe.
Okay, all right. So now we get to the part of this movie that Michael Bay actually wanted to direct.
This is where he's cooking. He's finally turned the stove on.
The
which
good
it
part of
is
the
literally
movie.
40. It's 40 minutes of the attack on Pearl Harbor. So we have the kind of planning sequences intercut with, and I mean, Justin, again, you're the history expert. They did attack in the morning, early in the morning, because I guess they thought people wouldn't be up and about.
Okay, so full disclosure, if you've been in a history class, you had a teacher who probably got drunk one night and came in the next day and said, "Hey, we're gonna watch a movie." I did it all of Kentucky Studies, because I didn't know anything about Kentucky Studies. I was like, you know what? Movies from people from Kentucky. Let's just watch them, guys. Let's just start an entire class. I never showed this movie in class because it did a disservice to everything about the military, everything about Pearl Harbor, everything about World War II. And the thing that I think drives them nuts the most is that while this scene is shot Michael Bay well, which is like its own category of well, like it's not good compared to most good directors, but it's good for Michael Bay. Like there's kind of like this tier list you have to give him by himself. It happens in the morning. The Japanese actually are supposed to declare war before it happens. It's not supposed to be a surprise attack. The code machine breaks and malfunctions, and the Japanese do not deliver the declaration of war when it was supposed to be delivered, which is about 30 to 45 minutes before the attack on Pearl Harbor. It happens in the morning because it is the most likely time for the sunrise, like where the way the sun hits, the planes are able to come in. It disguises them a little bit more. It makes it harder to counteract. It makes it harder to attack. Soldiers are waking up. And this is where the scene, the movie has two scenes in it that anger me to no end. Sorry.
Where the two little boys are peeing on the mountain.
I don't give a shit about that. I don't give a shit about the two little boys peeing on the mountain. Don't care. One is the fact that, as I alluded to before, the Japanese did a whole lot of horrible shit in World War II. You can look up Rape of Nanking. You can look up comfort women in South Korea. You can look up all the things they did to all the different people. The one thing they didn't do was fire on hospitals. They specifically ordered them to only attack military personnel, military targets, not even personnel, targets. They were not supposed to go after individuals. They're not supposed to chase cars. They're not supposed to go after hospital workers. They're not supposed to go to the hospitals. The only hospital worker that died was by complete accident through like one shell landed one place and some shrapnel shot in and killed one person. Was not intentional. Two, they are literally dropping torpedoes, which are for water, on buildings. That would never have happened. That drives me insane. And in this scene, for all people want to say about Michael Bay being like a big rah-rah American, woo woo, America, woo, flags everywhere. He literally has a sailor who has the line, "I can't swim," as he is about to drown on the USS Arizona.
He's in the Navy.
He's in the Navy. He's like, I can't swim.
Is that not a requirement to be in the Navy?
It is. Shocking
yeah, you
enough.
have to be able to tread water for like 2 hours, right?
You have to be able to swim with a pack on. Yeah. So I mean, this whole scene is one of those things where, like, I know it looks good, but for me, just because I'm so steeped in history, I was just sitting there going like, oh my god, why is every second of this wrong? Why can't you just do one thing right?
The hospital thing bothered me a lot too, because that's one of the big things that they're like.
Look how evil they are.
Yeah, it bothered me because I was like, I don't think that happened. I didn't do the exact research, but in everything that I remember in documentaries that I've seen of, that have covered Pearl Harbor and everything World War II related, like I never recalled them attacking, those hospitals and schools and buildings like that. But my first thought was, well, technically the hospital could be considered a military building, right? Because it's a military hospital full of soldiers. But yeah, I mean, still, it's not what happened. And so it did kind of throw me for a loop there. I was like, all right, we're Hollywooding it up just like we are the rest of the plot in this movie. And, I get it, but yeah, you don't need it to make it as shocking and crazy and also amazing to watch. You know what I mean?
The other thing
you could have done without it.
That kind of made me laugh. We haven't even talked about Cuba Gooding Jr., who's playing. Oh my God! What's his name? Dory.
Yeah.
Dory. Captain. Why is he in this movie?
Dory's a real guy.
Cuba Gooding Jr., but
he's a
real guy.
He's a real person.
Well, that's fine. Why
and they gave it to a legitimate actor that he deserved to have
Again, I still ask the question: what is he doing to this movie that couldn't be removed? And the movie is just.
I mean, I'm going to agree with that because you could do a story just on him.
Oh, they
they
should have.
But when it's broadly true that he boxed, he was a cook, he'd never fired a gun, but then ended up having to fire a gun when the attack happened, and he helped save people. But I laughed, so he mans that gun and starts shooting. and the boats are so close. I'm like, it looks like he's just shooting at one of. I know there's planes up, but it's like the way it's framed. I'm like, it looks like he's literally just shooting this other boat, this other carrier.
And to be fair, Dory did claim he shot 4 separate planes down. They didn't officially say that. And he's a real guy. He would have been a great movie. There was a quote from him where someone was like, "Oh, was it hard to pick up that?" He's like, "Nah, it wasn't hard. just pulled the trigger." Yeah. Some of this action sequence worked really well for me. The nurses triaging and the chaos in the hospital. Maybe it again is working with healthcare workers, but I thought that was all really effective. And her having to grab the lipstick to be able to. Triage literally means, does this person need critical help right now? Is this person not going to be saved and we don't need to bother? Or, can this person wait for care? And just going around, and she talks to that one soldier and she's like, "You're going to be fine." And then basically writes an F on it. And plugging that guy's artery, which I'm like, I don't know if that's realistic. Should ask one of our trauma surgeons. But being so overwhelmed and clearly they're not really prepared, because this being stationed here has been a vacation because nothing's been happening, and now they're having to deal with it. And I thought all that was really effective. And then I think I've told you all before, I have a thing about drowning, which is weird because I'm a very strong swimmer, but watching movies, TV shows, when people are stuck underwater and drowning stresses me out so much, because I think that has to be one of the worst ways to die. And the USS Arizona going down and those men not being able to get out, and I don't know if that was realistic, but it really, really hurt me. And the number of people that died that couldn't get out of that.
I definitely think that's realistic. There's a lot of men that were trapped in their ships that were going down, and there's no way out. So
in terms of them trying to get out and what they did and stuff, I know it's true that
yeah.
We'll never know, obviously.
But then the scene of they're reaching their hands through the grate, I guess, because they're trapped and they're holding and they're trying to figure, and then the hands just kind of go limp. I'm like, I don't know if that's something that would have happened or not, but
it's really effective.
It's effective. Yeah. I was like, I get why that's there. There's just a lot going. It's 40 minutes.
It's a very long action sequence, and it's again, I'll go back to I think it's very effective. The historical stuff, whatever, I kind of just went in. I just accept that this is not going to be historically accurate in many respects and just live with that. I love how it's, again, that blend of the American kind of hubris of, we're just going to live on the beach and, kind of fuck off while the world is at war. And then how quickly it's just kind of whipped right into the frenzy, and it comes to you. I think that's the only thing about this movie that works, is that aspect for me, the kind of dueling idea, kind of themes there. And it's, I think Michael Bay does this stuff really well, even if you don't love him as a filmmaker. He's very good at this really crazy, large scale action sequencing and just kind of bombarding you with stuff to the point it is it's too much probably, but it's if the movie ended after this, it'd be awesome. It would be it would, well, I wouldn't like the movie still, but it would change a lot about how I feel about it. I'll probably by the end of where we end up,
it would make so much more sense, because this is the main action of this movie. This is why, so the Two Towers ends with the Battle of Helm's Deep. You cannot keep the movie going after 45 minutes of a battle. That's just kind of what this. I'm like, I cannot believe. I remember I paused. I was like, how is there an hour left in this movie? Pearl Harbor was just
because paused. Americans have to have their get back.
it's pretty rare
It's-
that the sequel is just baked into the movie. Like
Well-
that's kind of
Okay, all right. So, all right.
Also, I would before we move on to that. So, Danny and Rafe managed to get into some planes and shoot down some of the Japanese planes, which there were very few. Again, Justin, I think they said there were like 14, maybe. I remember reading that there was a very small number of pilots who were able to get up into planes and do a little bit of damage.
Yeah, it's a very small number. They're not going to be able to do those maneuvers that all the planes they shoot down are pretty much like, let's do that right thing. And then the Japanese just fly directly into
Crash
each other
into stuff.
over and over again. That's... Go ahead, Slade. I'm going to counteract Josh after you're done.
Okay, well, you'll probably end up counteracting me too. So here's what I want to say about this, because obviously everybody here seems to think that this movie is not a good movie. Most of you think it's actually a freaking terrible movie. But, like, do y'all remember that conversation we had when we were talking about Swordfish? And I was like, look, sometimes I let Hollywood get me. This is where Hollywood gets me. Like, I signed up for Pearl Harbor from Michael Bay, and this is where I get it. Like, I'm getting what I wanted out of this movie, as far as, while it's not historically accurate, you know that's never going to be the case with Michael Bay, but it's going to be accurate enough and entertaining enough, and the shots are going to look amazing. The explosions are going to be insane. You're going to feel like you're one of the people that are being bombed and attacked, and then, like, you're going to have that proud, like, American passion when you take a zero down. You know what I mean? Like, and you're killing these Jap planes.
I'm mostly with you there. If the movie ends when Danny and Rafe get into the sky and do something kind of cool that calls back to like what they have established at the beginning, and then the movie's over, and you you can say like, why not?
It's not enough, because
why do you need to see the operation afterwards?
The reason why is because it feels like we took a massive blow and lost thousands. Exactly, lost thousands of lives, and the movie would end on a downer. Okay. But the heroes at the center of the movie.
That is the story of Pearl Harbor.
Yes.
But
and the heroes
Americans
at the center
are too proud to let it end at that, right?
Right.
We have to have our get back. We have to have our big moment. We have to show what happened when we got into the war and what we did to get them back. And they even say when they're doing the is it Doolittle? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
The Doolittle project, or that like this is going to be essentially like very micro scale compared to what they did to us, but it is going to matter. And so and of course, like, you have to finish off with who's going to take care of the kid, who's all like who's going to die, right, and all of that. But my point is that even after Pearl Harbor, I think I could have spent almost like 30 minutes with John Voight as FDR, just giving us amazing speeches to get us into the war. Like, I loved it. I ate that shit up. I did. I just like there's a lot of bad with this movie, but something about it still tickles my fancy in certain aspects that I like.
I'm far
sorry,
too
I'm a sucker
cynical.
for it.
I think in my older age now that I kind of feel like if you're going to use a major historical event for the basis of your blockbuster, then I want it to reflect reality. If this was like, I don't know, have you seen Battleship?
Yes, I've seen Battleship.
And like that movie is they're like, America, fuck yeah, playing TNT and like and it's so dumb, but I was like, yes, this movie is great, this is fun. Like,
you just liked it because Skarsgård's in it, don't lie.
But like it's a fictional, I don't know, they're not, I just get so annoyed to use like historical tragedy as your excuse to tell a shitty love story, not even a good one, you know?
Okay, the love story part of it is bad. I will freely grant you that. And like, but I still love it because it's Kate Beckinsale. Like, I love her. Like, I do. And this movie, like, making her a 1940 just classical woman, you know? Like, I don't, like... All right, for instance, right? I did the same thing with the James Franco, Stephen King TV series that was on Hulu.
11/22/63.
Yes, that. I forgot her name, but the blonde actress that plays the love interest, I adore her character in that. Like, this is the first time I literally fell in love with the character just watching that show, because she just is so wholesome and like a lady of that time that you don't see anymore. You know what I mean? And they did that with Kate Beckinsale in this movie too. And I just love that. And I don't know why. I guess it's because it's a woman that you will never come across in today's time. I will never find a woman that is of that ilk, because they don't make them like that anymore. It's completely different.
They don't come off the conveyor belt like that anymore.
No, I mean, if you did, you would look at them like they're an alien with green goo growing out their ears or something, because they're so naive and
Slade, I have bad news. There's a whole trad wife thing.
Slade.
Hey, there's a lot of TikTokers that I'm about to say. There's a lot of TikTokers that would counter what they're selling, what you're looking for. It sounds like.
Well, it's a good thing I don't TikTok.
I'm gonna counter both of you all. Because, and I'll talk more about this at the very, very end. My spiel, I'll give my spiel I always tell my students about these kind of movies. There is a movie out there that does everything that this movie apparently wants to do, except for the terrible love scenes. It's called 1917. It is a fantastic war movie.
Yes.
In which a fake-ish, a real battle with some real things, but no real people in the movie, is told through the perspective of a not real soldier, in a mission that is not that important overall, and you can just sit down and enjoy every single aspect of it. In this movie, they have picked one of these seminal moments in American history, especially modern American history, and they went, what if we shat on it? And then gave you 20 minutes of really, really good explosions, and then we were like, see? But sailors can't swim, but, bomb go boom. and that's where I get my problem with this movie, is that it relies very heavily on bomb go boom for one of the, again, most seminal moments of American
But the
history.
bombs do in fact go boom, Justin. The bombs went big boom.
They did big boom.
Some of them.
Slate, you were putting your daughter to bed, but I had said when you were gone, I'm like, honestly, I don't think I would be yelling at this movie as much if it wasn't called Pearl Harbor. If you gave it some other title and it was like, oh, Pearl Harbor's just the background to it, I don't think I'd be having quite the same
If it was
reaction.
a hidden Pearl Harbor movie, like the hidden 9/11
like the hidden
movie.
9/11 movie.
I don't think it's necessarily though the actor's fault. I don't think it's necessarily Michael Bay's fault. I think it's
Ben
what
Affleck's fault.
I think it's what the studio thinks that the audience wanted. Like they were like, we have to have a love story and a love interest, and we have to make this work. I think they felt like if they'd have just been like, let's just blow up Pearl Harbor and turn it into this badass action movie, you're going to lose a lot of money, because it's going to be an expensive movie and only guys are going to go see it. Women wanted to see this movie too. You know what I mean?
You did nail it, Allison, with they did just want to make Titanic again. That's what happened.
Yeah,
here.
it's
absolutely. They took the historical backdrop. They wanted to do something cool. They got Michael Bay, who's coming off Armageddon and obviously, makes stuff go boom real good. And it's just one of those situations, where the studio is involved and just all kind of, it's a Disney. I mean, it's not labeled a Disney movie. It's a touchstone. It's an offshoot of Disney. It's just going to, and so it's going to get fucked up in some ways because of that too. With the violence and whatnot. And so it just becomes this amalgamation of everybody kind of wanting this to be something that it was never going to achieve the level of accuracy that anyone would want. And I can turn my brain off too, Slayton. The accuracy, that's my least issue with this movie. I can throw that out, for the most part, just because I guess sort of sells itself that way. But I'm like, okay, I'm not expecting the history of Pearl Harbor in this movie, but it's just bad. It's just badly. It's a badly made movie.
It's bad. It's boring.
It's boring,
except for the 40 minutes. It's actual Pearl Harbor attack.
I actually even think the love story stuff could have been interesting, but it's not.
It could have.
It's not there's no stakes. Like we were talking about earlier with the like comparing it to Titanic, there's like no stakes whatsoever. Like I don't feel bad at all for Rafe when he comes back and his buddy's fucking his girl because you were dead, bro. You were dead
for 3 months.
If I was dead for 3 days, I'd hope that somebody would move on at some point. Like.
That's crazy, bro.
Okay,
that's crazy.
I'm gonna stop us because we have to move on because we have another movie to talk about.
What?
Because we got to talk about the Doolittle Raid, which is an entirely separate movie tacked on to the end of this movie.
Last thing. I will freely grant you that I'm completely biased in the sense with Kate Beckinsale. If this was Maggie Gyllenhaal, I would hate every second of this movie except for the 40 minutes of Pearl Harbor being bombed. Okay, I will grant that to you. Moving on.
Okay. All right. So now we're in the aftermath of Pearl Harbor. Everything is terrible. FDR wants the U.S. to do something now. Damn it. So they come up with plans for retaliation. The Doolittle Raid, named for Jimmy Doolittle. And again, this is a whole other movie that we've added on because we need to end this movie on a high note. America, fuck yeah, woo, we got our revenge. So Alec Baldwin walks back into this movie. Rafe and Danny
really kind of does. Just kind of.
He's good though. I like Baldwin in this portion.
Yeah,
of the
he's
film.
solid. He just hasn't been in the movie for 2.5 hours by this point.
Yeah, he literally walks back in. He's like, oh yeah, I'm in this movie. Rafe and Danny sign up for this risky secret mission. Alec Baldwin talking to them he literally says, I'm 45 years old. I'm an old man. You have the rest of your lives ahead of you. And I was like, fuck me. Really?
I got at least a decade before I have to think about that.
Also, Baldwin he's not dumb, but apparently the real Doolittle was like extremely smart, didn't swear, had like a doctorate in, I can't remember which field of science, but I don't know.
This guy's closer to Dr. Doolittle is what I'm hearing.
Well, we have to have our moment of American badassery when he's like, take a look at the man at the left and to the right of you. There's a good chance that either you or they will not be making it back. Anyone who can't accept that, stay at the line. Anyone who's ready to go, take a step forward. And they all
step forward.
I was so close to giving this movie at one point when I didn't see a slow motion walk down an airfield with planes flying overhead. And then that scene popped up. I'm like, God, you can't even let me give you 1 point. You can't even let me do it.
Justin, going back to 1917, could you imagine if Michael Bay had tried to have to make this movie as a one-shot film like 1917?
Oh my God.
His head would have exploded.
Could you imagine if he had to do something artistic? Oh my God! What will Michael Bay do?
Just one tracking shot for the entire 3 hours, Bay.
It's called Transformers.
Okay, I will talk about the Doolittle Raid a little bit more in the bonus features, but just we're doing the raid on Japan, aka time for more of our main characters to die. So they are sailing as close as they can get to Japan, then they're gonna fly these ships and drop bombs on the main the islands. Which the whole point they know, and Doolittle even says like, what is it like? This is just a pinprick.
Mm-hmm. But it'll be right through the heart.
Like he's basically saying like this really isn't a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but he's trying to make the point that this is a psychological attack because they think that they are safe being inland, and we're about to prove that they're not. So, they get spotted by the Japanese. That is true. They were spotted earlier than expected. They kind of, even though Baldwin says, like, this is not that big of a deal, I feel like the way it's shot, and again, America, fuck yeah, they kind of present this as, like, we just destroyed their whole industrial sector. which wasn't necessarily the case. And then everyone has to crash land. Yes, they all made it to China, right, mm-hmm. Justin?
Yeah,
in real life.
They make it to China.
One made it to the Soviet Union.
That may have been worse.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Oh.
Ooh. But conveniently they all crash in the same area so that they can all be together, and get
The
captured.
Soviet guy became Demogorgon bait.
They're captured by Japanese forces. They put Danny in a yoke. I guess he was going to be... I guess they were intended to be captured. Rafe grabs a gun, shoots everybody except for one dude who just lights Danny up. And,
he did it on purpose. He wanted Danny to die.
So Rafe knows that Evelyn is pregnant. Danny does not. So
Rafe's like, I'll be the pappy to that bastard, son.
He's just like, hey, you got to stay alive because did you know that you're having a kid? And he just
You're
goes like, you're gonna have to be his daddy, and dies.
Now he says, no, you are.
Yeah. I did like that. That's probably just the me like oh dad.
His daddy.
Yeah, as a dad, it got me too.
Yeah. And you know what? This solved our love triangle. She gets the best of both worlds. She gets to have Rafe again, but they're raising Danny's kid, and they're gonna name him Danny, and we're gonna go back to the beginning of the movie, and Rafe gets to fly with a different Danny.
We've got Inception now.
I don't, and maybe in your research someone could explain this because I didn't want to spend the time even looking more into this movie than humanly possible. The way they portray the Doolittle raid, it might as well have been Midway. Like, Midway is the seminal moment for World War II for U.S. And I don't know why they're like, what if we just did this one raid? And it's like, well, why don't we do the one where we literally destroyed their entire offensive capability in one
the one that people have heard of, too. It's like, it's interesting if they go with the, lesser kind of, I mean, it's, I guess, the first immediate thing, and immediate, it's like 6 months later.
Yeah, it's like, it's in April.
Later. Yeah.
And I know Midway's a little bit later, but I mean, like, that was the moment.
I think the reason why they went with the Doolittle raid is because they were able to keep the small group of characters that we've grown to love over the last 17 hours of this movie. And,
have we? Aside from Kate Beckinsale.
No, I mean Red. I like Red.
You didn't
like Red?
Plane.
He's
fine.
You didn't like Goose?
I do like Goose.
With a Z?
I do like Goose.
Okay, you know what I'm saying?
He just wants to make surfboards.
Yeah. My point is that we're able to keep this troop together and do this raid, and you're also able to have a more intimate death with Danny in a sense where he's able to be face to face with Rafe and find out he's a dad and all of that stuff versus like, my buddy's plane got shot down and I got the dyslexia and now I got a bastard child.
Counterpoint. None of these people besides Doolittle are real. They could have just been at the Battle of Midway.
Yeah, but how do you get him to become a prisoner of war and get shot by the one dude that Rafe didn't kill?
I mean, there were Americans who were killed at the Battle of Midway.
But it wouldn't have been as intimate as my point, because like that's
the most intimate moments in this movie are always between Danny and Rafe. Every one of them.
It's
and
a
Dan
gay
and Rafe
movie.
in the cork from the first third.
Yeah, fear coded. It's not quite horror, but it is definitely queer.
Oh,
it's
pretty horrific to watch.
It's a fucking horror.
It's horrific to watch.
Anyway, so, and this movie finally ends with an Evelyn voiceover, and the ending of this movie is why the film Team America exists. The end.
In the US.
So this movie matters because it gave us Team America.
I mean, if it gave us Team America, okay, yeah.
And the US never lost again.
I just want to point out, because as I told you all, I watch movies with captions because it helps my brain process what's happening. And I know this happens from time to time where the caption doesn't match the dialogue. And my understanding is it's usually either they've shortened it a little bit to get the same sentiment, but it doesn't have to go so fast, or the people doing the captions were given an earlier version of the script and that's what they based it on. So, two things that I'm this is, I don't know, just kind of speaks to America. But, when Pearl Harbor's going on and Danny's trying to get into a plane, so he goes in the hangar and he picks up there's a guy hiding under the desk. He picks up the phone and he's yelling at the guy. And the guy on the other end is just are y'all doing target practice over there? What's all that noise? And Hartnett responds, I think World War II just started. But the caption said, I think World War II just hit us. And I'm that is such a perfect, of course, it's not World War II. It doesn't matter until, the U.S., it affects us. I'm what?
Right.
I'm wondering if that was, changed later, dubbed in later. But
that line should have never been put into the movie.
No. And again, I'll nitpick that to hell. It wasn't called World War II to 1945. It was an official designation by the U.S. military. Literally, the U.S. military had a commission that said, "What do we call this war we're fighting? World War II, 1945."
Nice.
And then later, when in Evelyn's little epilogue there at the end, she says, "This much is certain: before the Doolittle raid, America knew nothing but defeat, and after it, nothing but victory." But the captions, but the captions say, "But after it, there was hope of victory." Which I'm like,
that's a better line.
Why would you say nothing but victory?
Yeah, nothing bad happened after.
Nothing bad ever happened
II.
again. We
won every other battle in World War II.
Especially in Asia.
Do you guys think this movie would have came out in 2001 if it had been scheduled for release after 9/11?
That is a fascinating question that I wanted to ask at some point.
I think
I almost feel like it would be, because they're like, we need to get like American, yes,
like,
we can do this or something.
Like the rallying the troops together. Like, all right, we got our ass kicked. The buildings got blown up. Now it's time to go get them.
I said that about Black Hawk Down too. That was kind of like it was probably had that effect, and it's just, and I believe that, but man, just watching.
I could see them pushing it back till sometime
2002
2002, though. Like I could see the movie not
because
coming out
it
till
is
Christmas
like
of the next year.
I mean, because September 11th is this was the worst, attack on, from, on U.S. soil before, until that. Which also, I did want to talk about that, like just how just weird that is that this movie comes out. That's
3.5 months before it happens.
Bringing this back into the cultural consciousness, and then
Josh, are you claiming that the executives at Touchstone may have had insider information about?
Well, John Travolta did.
Yeah,
in Swordfish. So.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the bonus feature. It's time for a history lesson, kids. And Justin, feel free to jump in at any point, because I'm sure you know a lot more about both of these two things I'm going to talk about. All right, we have already talked extensively about this film's been pointed out for, being basically one of the least historically accurate, like, Hollywood World War II movies. It's a lot of stuff that's just been exaggerated for reason to make it more cinematic, I guess. And I'm like, I feel like the story is dramatic enough that it didn't really need to be exaggerated further. But there's this fun video, a World War II historian ranks several movies that he's seen about their accuracy, World War II movies. He gave Hacksaw Ridge an 8 out of 10. I actually haven't seen that one. Andrew Garfield's accent in the trailer, I was like, I can't watch this. He does a couple of TV shows. I hadn't heard of this. Masters of the Air, which is an Apple TV Plus show, I think, got a 9 out of 10. Flags of Our Fathers, 10 out of 10. Letters from Iwo Jima, 9 out of 10. The Pacific, another TV show I'm not familiar with, 9 out of 10. Battle of the Bulge from 1965, 3 out of 10. So it's the lowest ranked. The Thin Red Line, 9 out of 10. Wind Talkers, he gave a 7 out of 10, and he kind of says, like, they made a lot of Hollywood contrivances, but it's like a really important story, and I'm glad that it basically, like,
got
attention was brought to it. Saving Private Ryan, he doesn't give it a ranking, but the last part of the video is him just raving about it's the best World War II movie of all time, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, I'm going to assume he would have given it a 10 out of 10. Pearl Harbor gets a 4 out of 10. So the Doolittle raid. So after Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, the U.S. was reeling, Pacific Fleet was badly damaged, Japan was advancing rapidly across Asia, and American morale was really low. FDR did want us to respond quickly and visibly to kind of boost American morale. So 4 months later, as you said, this was, I guess, Justin, was this the first? This had to be the first strike, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, again, if we're ignoring everything that happened in the Philippines, because again, Battle of Manila, all this stuff that was happening already there, because we had soldiers stationed there, that they had to flee, so there were already battles occurring between December and April. This is the first U.S. offensive where we're actively going to somewhere they're at. The beginning of the island hopping what becomes island hopping and then becomes firebombing strategy.
Yeah. So they came up with this plan that they wanted to bomb Japan itself, because up to that point, I guess Japan thought that they were kind of safe being so far away and being inland. Not, they couldn't be attacked by air, I guess was their thought. This idea was apparently developed by a Navy captain named Francis S. Lowe. It was risky. They took 16 B-25 bombers. They have to take off on an aircraft carrier. It's a very short runway. That's true. They did alter the planes. Some of it was taking off weight. It did mention that they did put fake guns in the back. I don't know what they were made of, but they were
broomsticks.
Well, that's what they say in the movie. I don't know what they were made of.
Black painted broomsticks.
Yeah, in real life. But the plan was kind of as is presented in the movie. Yeah, we're going to get close 600 and some miles out, take off.
Well, they were supposed to be like 400 miles out, right? And then, at least in the movie, they get pushed out 600 miles.
It was like 650 or 6.
Their position was given away, which is...
Yeah. But, yeah, fly over Japan, drop these bombs on factories, and stuff, and then fly onward to China, who was our ally at the time. These planes had never been launched from an aircraft carrier before, so it said they did a lot of modifications, and the crew believed it was a suicide mission, which I think Alec Baldwin gets across in the movie. So Doolittle was chosen to lead the raid. April 18th, 1942. They were sitting on the deck of the USS Hornet. Before they reached their planned launching point, they were spotted by a Japanese patrol boat. I think in the movie they make it seem like there's...
Japs coming.
Yeah, in the fields.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But they were like, well, we've been spotted. We lost our element of surprise. We're going to go ahead and launch these planes anyway. They were about 650 miles from Japan. They all took off, bombed military and industrial targets in Tokyo and other... The movie only talks about Tokyo, but they did hit other cities. And again, the physical damage in the grand scheme of things wasn't that much, but that wasn't the mission's true goal. The real impact was American morale and kind of damage the Japanese psychologically. And Justin, I think I read that there were a lot of civilians and children that died. In this.
This is a pretty common thing,
which the Japanese used for propaganda.
Oddly enough, similar to what happened a few months ago. Bombs don't always hit their intended target, and sometimes hit children and people, and then it becomes propaganda. This is actually a pretty common thing, and we see this happen more and more as the war goes on. You could do an entire... there's been thousands of books written about the bombings, the atomic bombings, but the fire bombs don't get as much attention. And they were all civilian targets for the most part. Cities as small as Richmond, Kentucky were firebombed by the U.S. military and with no military assets. The idea here was literally to strike fear into the Japanese people. The hope there was that they would work with some of the more modern elements to overthrow the emperor. The hope was that they would put more political pressure if there was more civilian casualties. This really was the first true total war in world history, at least from modern world history, where civilians were the targets. 60 million people die in World War II effectively, or 40 million people die in World War II effectively. The vast majority of them are civilians, 60 some odd percent.
So this attack was successful. It forced Japanese leaders to kind of divert their assets away from the front lines. The shift would play a role weeks later at the Battle of Midway, when Japan suffered a devastating defeat at the hands of the U.S. Pacific Fleet. It was a big morale booster for Americans, which is what FDR wanted. As I mentioned, the Japanese used this as we bombed their military base. They came in and bombed our women and children, and they used it as a real propaganda tool. But not all of the bombers made it to where they were supposed to. Most bailed out or crash landed in China. As I said, I'm thinking that I read that one ended up in the Soviet Union, which, yeah, God. 3 of them died. 8 were captured by Japan. 3 were executed. 1 died of an illness while in captivity. But also, the Chinese civilians who helped them suffered brutal retaliation by Japanese forces after the fact, which is something that the movie also, I mean, understandably, I guess, leaves out. That's a whole other story. But and Doolittle himself thought that the mission had failed because the crash landed, lost several men. He thought he'd be punished when he got back to the U.S., and instead he was promoted and awarded the Medal of Honor. Justin, anything else to add about that?
No, I mean, I think you got everything there. And again, I alluded to this earlier. The treatment of the Japanese towards the Chinese was horrendous throughout the entire war. They've never officially apologized for what they've done in that country. I mean, it was, anyone who's listening, take some time and go read a book about it. Watch there's a dozen great documentaries about it. Educate yourself on what actually happened in that war. And I'm going to allude to that when I talk more about the very end, about kind of the importance of this movie and what it should have been. But no, everything there sounded great.
I will second that and just say, if you're looking for more factual things and actual video accounts of what happened during World War II, the Netflix documentary, I think the Ken Burns did, is that right? Where it's like World War II in color, is amazing. Like, they do a full episode on Midway and a full episode on Pearl Harbor and a full episode on just all the different things that, like, the steps that they go through the entire World War II. It's really well done.
There's also a documentary that I don't know. I was on vacation one day and I woke up really early and I turned on TV and there happened to be a documentary about the rape of Nanking on. So I decided to watch it on vacation. And it is possibly the most eye-opening documentary because they actually interview Japanese soldiers who committed the atrocities. And kind of like the fact that they're just laughing through it and being like, haha, yeah, we did this. And it's like,
wow.
Oh, and they show like archival footage that was able to escape and stuff like that. So like, there are some great documentaries out there to really understand. Like when Allison, when you say they were brutally murdered, it is some of the most.
I'm not going. I read a little bit about that. And I was
you
like,
cannot.
Okay,
it is.
I can't go down this rabbit hole.
It broke me in that watching that. I would use that documentary with my students. I would show them clips I could show, and show like this is how brutal the war was.
All right, so let me tell you a tale on a lighter note. I literally just learned about this, I'm not joking, 2 days ago. I was listening to a different podcast, and it's actually a podcast that usually covers, he's like, strange, dark, and mysterious stories. It's usually about like ghosts or murder. And for whatever reason, he told this story, I guess because it involves a corpse. And I was like, how have I never heard this story? So let me run you through briefly a fun, truth is stranger than fiction tale from World War II called Operation Mincemeat, aka when the British made Hitler look like a damn fool. So early 1943, the Allies were preparing for their next major move, which was invading Sicily in Italy, which, remember, Italy's part of the Axis powers. Mussolini's in charge. So it was the next logical step after their victories in North Africa. But the problem was Sicily was a pretty obvious target, and they knew that the German forces knew that, and they were ready to defend it. But a couple of British spies, with an assist from none other than Ian Fleming, the author, creator of James Bond.
That's crazy.
Came up with this insane plan to deceive the Germans. So Sicily is the target. It was the target, but what if Hitler thought otherwise? So there's this thing called the Trout Memo, which it's under the name of Admiral John Godfrey, but pretty much it's accepted that like Ian Fleming actually wrote this, and it was essentially it's called the Trout Memo because it's like, here's, war is like fly fishing or like trying to deceive people in war. You're just throwing stuff out and hoping to like capture somebody on a line and reel them in. That's what I call it, the Trout Memo. And it was just a list of like, here's some deceptions we could try. Number 28 was borrowed from a novel by Basil Thompson, according to Fleming. I tried to find what this novel was and I couldn't. And then reading Basil Thompson was apparently a piece of shit anyway. So I was like, I can't read any more about this guy. Anyway, but the idea: find a corpse, load him up with faked important classified documents, and then toss him in the sea for the enemy to find. So the British intelligence stole a body. They went to a morgue, took the body of a deceased homeless man who had died from rat poison. It's unclear if it was an accident or if it was a suicide. But they were like, oh, they kept calling him a tramp in all the reading I had. But basically, like, no one's going to miss this guy.
That's
and
wild.
he fits, he has kind of the build of a soldier. He's the right age. There are all these factors that they were like, we got to make this look realistic. And they found this guy and they took his body. They gave him a new identity. He's Major William Martin, a Royal Marines officer. They dressed him up in a real uniform, filled his briefcase with what they described as pocket litter. It had like handwritten letters from Martin's father and a fiance, ticket stubs from a play from the night before he left London, bills from his tailor complaining about delayed payments, a receipt for an engagement ring, and like there's some other items too. But it also included classified documents, quote, that, quote, revealed that the Allied plans were actually to invade Greece and Sardinia, and Sicily was, the decoy to throw them off the scent. And they had this briefcase like attached to his wrist. So they released the body off the coast of Spain, which was a neutral, but like not really, because they're basically kind of secret Nazis. Presented themselves as neutral, but often would give intelligence to the Nazis. So they released it there, like thinking it'll be super obvious if we release it to, I guess, the Germans. So they did it there, knowing that they would then pass it up the line. And to even sell this further, I don't know what the attempts were. Nothing I read kind of explained, but it says they attempted multiple times to like retrieve his body, to kind of sell the idea that like, oh, we got to get this guy back. We got to get this guy back. Like to create a little bit of like maybe panic to kind of, help it seem more real. Mm-hmm. So these soldiers found this body, sent it to Spanish authorities. But just as the British hoped, they sent the information. I think they photographed the documents and stuff and sent it straight up the chain, and it got to Hitler. They did return the body and its effects to Britain, I guess, pretending like, oh no, we didn't like send your secret intelligence up the chain, but like, we're doing a good deed. Here's your guy back. The British had a full ass fake funeral for this guy to just really keep up so I guess if any Axis forces were checking in, they would see that like, oh, this seems totally real. This like Marine got this major funeral. And it worked. So German analysts, including Hitler himself, thought they were genuine. They adjusted their plans. German troops, aircrafts, and naval resources were shifted away from Sicily to reinforce Greece and other parts of the Eastern Mediterranean, which paved the way for 160,000 Allied troops to come in and fuck shit up in Sicily in 1943. So though the battle... no battles without casualties. They faced less resistance, as was the plan. The whole scheme succeeded, and it helped bring about the collapse of Mussolini's government in Italy.
They should make a movie on this instead of...
Oh, wait a second. That's okay. Exactly what I was thinking. So what made Operation Mincemeat remarkable was not just that it worked, but that it worked perfectly, exactly as they'd planned. And the German forces never fully realized they'd been deceived. They still believed after Sicily was invaded that, oh, that was a diversion and they may still come here and attack Greece. LOL, fuck you, Hitler. So first, you might be asking, what is up with the name? Well, apparently this whole crew had a pretty macabre sense of humor. So it was named Operation Mincemeat due to the fact that the whole plan hinged around a dead body. In other words, a dressed up sack of meat. Mm. And now, who was this undead hero, you may ask? The British spies who developed this plan were apparently assholes. Again, they were like, nobody's going to miss this guy and nobody needs to know his name. So they never told anyone. But military historians in 96, a historian kind of officially was like, the records show that this guy was a man named... this is Welsh. Glender Michael. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that the proper Welsh way, but he's a Welshman. He was buried with full military honors as Major William Martin in Huelva, Spain, along with an epitaph. And then later on, when his real name was verified, there's an epilogue kind of added to the epitaph that, also includes his real name. A plaque commemorating him was added to a war memorial in Wales. And just 5 years ago, the UK branch of the Jewish American Society for History Preservation added a memorial plaque at Hackney Mortuary, which is where his body was kept and dressed for action. He is known as the man who never was, and his story has been told via a play called Mincemeat, a musical called Operation Mincemeat.
I want to see that.
2 movies. One was 1956, The Man Who Never Was, and the 2021 movie Operation Mincemeat, starring Colin Firth. Wow. And I was like, why the fuck have I not heard of this? It was only released theatrically in the UK, much like that Bridget Jones's Diary sequel. And then they just threw it on Netflix for the US. And I knew absolutely nothing of this. I really wanted to watch it before the show, but like I said, I found out about this 2 days ago, so I am going to watch it this week because I'm really curious to see it. But I'm like, damn,
yeah,
this is a story I want to see, and why haven't I heard this story before?
Yeah,
I guess it's because it is a real piece of British history, and here in the U.S. we don't care about anybody else's history. But I included a few links here if you want to go and kind of read a little bit more about it. It's just such a crazy story.
How much do y'all know about the planning of D-Day? Do y'all know, the secrecy they did to make D-Day effective? Anything? No?
No.
All right.
I'm sure I was taught that at some point, but none of that exists in my brain.
It's one of those things that they don't... again, unless you have a teacher who actually wants to teach you, they don't teach you these things because they're complicated. They have more, background to them. This is actually a very similar plan to what we do in D-Day, which is leading up to D-Day, we know that if we go against this Atlantic wall that Hitler has created, where he's built literally miles and miles and miles of wall with machine guns every 50 feet. If we try to push into northern France, we're going to just get slaughtered, which ends up happening anyways at D-Day. Tons of deaths. So many people die. But the thing that makes it better, and makes it easier for us, is that we convince Hitler and his spies that we're actually going to invade a little bit further to the north and a little bit further to the east. And we do that by having Hollywood make a bunch of fake planes and tanks out of balloons, and then having people under the tanks and planes and balloons and run fake drills as if they're real planes and tanks. And because all the planes that are taking spy photos are so high up, they can't tell the difference between the fake balloon planes and tanks and real planes and tanks. So literally the Germans are like, oh my God, they're amassing people over there. And we utilize Hollywood set designs to trick the Nazis, because Hitler was, shockingly enough, not a great tactician. A guy who was a fucking corporal, letter deliverer in World War I, not the best, brightest mind out there. So he falls for it 1,000%, and they divert a lot of their resources a little bit further north and a little bit further east, which allows the U.S. to just push in this one spot on those 5 beaches in Normandy.
The rise of Hitler is truly one of the most mind-boggling things ever.
We're watching it right now.
I mean,
we're
living.
Yes, we are.
We're living that right now.
The similarities is.
I'm going to bring that up actually when we talk about why this movie is important. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to talk about that.
All right. So
we thought the last few episodes have been heavy. Here we go.
Lord. All right, so let's. We've been talking about this for more than 2 hours.
It's still going to be shorter than the movie.
It's still going to be shorter.
We can. Let's see.
Is that our goal to beat the hour on time?
Yes.
All right, guys, let's get to it. Does this movie matter?
I will say, no. This movie does not matter. Much like Roger Ebert said, this movie's not really done with care or grace. Michael Bay did what he wanted to do, and we got some great action sequences out of it. But it I mean, it's not a movie that I've watched multiple times since 2001. It's not a movie that I'm going to watch multiple times after we're done with this podcast. Even though I love Kate Beckinsale, I'm not diving to this to go watch her. So no, this movie doesn't matter. It didn't really do much for anything. I mean, Josh Hartnett is a heartthrob, and it made $400 million, won an Oscar, but it's a heartless movie that is trying to tug on your heartstrings.
I struggled with this one. I don't like this movie, to be clear. I think it's a really pretty shitty movie. Maybe it's in the contention for the worst we've watched, which is saying something. I don't think it matters either, but I think it should.
It should, exactly. Yes.
And why I don't think it matters is mostly it's so interesting when it arrives, right? Because it does come 3 months before September 11th. So there's a lot of interesting things about its arrival and its place in 2001. But I think it's interesting that of all the significant blockbusters from that year, does anybody ever even talk about this movie? Like it's outside of this show, the kind of the when you're talking in this context, like if you're specifically and that's the case for a lot of the movies we talk about because we're unearthing some stuff too. But I do think it's interesting that a movie could have made, close to $500 million, which is, about, it's what would be about $1 billion today. And just kind of, it's probably not even Michael Bay's, almost every other movie he's made is probably more discussed or brought up or kind of in the cultural, Armageddon is like probably the one that, most people first associate with him, if not Transformers franchise. And it's not, nobody in this movie is doing anything that matters in terms of their career other than, getting a payday that I can think of. But it does, I guess it matters as a artifact in terms of it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Justin. Because you know the landscape better than I. I know you weren't showing it, but if it's shown in classes and stuff in like high schools, then it's hard to say it doesn't matter for that, even though it's used as a tool of, in poor education. Because it was shown when I was in school, but I was, we were contemporaries, like it was like in middle school, kind of. So I don't know if it's still something that people kind of reference today in that context. So I'd like to hear maybe what you know about that.
They do. No, people still use this movie all the time. I compare this movie unfavorably to the movie Monuments Men. I talked about that a bit ago, just kind of in passing, just for fun. It's a movie that doesn't have a tone and tells a historical narrative using real figures and real events and makes jokes. The first third of this movie is just a comedy. And then the last third is just rah-rah American patriotism, with the middle third being bomb go boom. It's very similar in that way when you watch Monuments Men, which is another movie that was shown in a lot of classrooms because it takes place in World War II and it's got famous actors in it and it's kind of funny. And then, oh, wait, those 3 priests got killed, but here's another funny scene. Here's some songs you kind of remember. Oh, wait, those 3 guys got killed. Oh, here's another funny scene. Like, these are movies that you show children with the hope that, like, oh, this will get them interested in World War II. And so I guess... Are you good? Are you done on your end, Josh? I just want to make sure before I go into my spiel on that.
Yeah. I think I'll respond if you have anything, because I do. I'm eager to hear what you have to say in terms of this, because your perspective is unique. I think.
I think this is a movie that matters, and it shouldn't, but it does. Less than 40% of Americans will read more than 3 books in a year. And that's just a fact. Polls are done every year. Less than 40% of Americans read 4 books. I last year read 116 books. I'm on book 23 this year. I read a ton. I know that I am a minority when it comes to reading. most people are going to get their historical information from whatever media they see, either as a child, as a teen, or as an adult. And I'm going to bring this up. Executive Order 14,253, Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History, is an executive order that is in effect right now. It is actively removing historical events from national landmarks, like ripping them out, saying, no, this never happened. And it's about rewriting history to where America never did anything wrong. This kind of mentality is where we get that. I like to look at someone like my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law is the only pro-choice, anti-gun Republican I've ever met in my life. And she votes Republican because, as she says multiple times, well, when we talk about history, that didn't happen in the movie. She gets her historical information and her understanding of the world from movies. She is 73 years old. She votes. My mother, as much as I hate to say this, doesn't believe in the moon landing, because she's like, well, if we never went back, and it's like, we did go back many times. Actually, we've been back to the moon multiple times. Please, I beg of you, please read a book. People use these movies as the basis for their entire knowledge and understanding of history and the world around them. And when they go into a movie like this and they see it one time at 15, and it's just like, and then America never lost another battle again, just let's go. It's like, well, why don't we get some context? Why don't we just try and read or understand what's actually going on? Please, I beg of you. And because of that, not directly, that's not 100% why, but because of things like this and this eating away, it's kind of gotten us to where we're at right now, where people just are completely ill-informed about what actually happened in the world. So if you're going to throw the name Pearl Harbor up there, don't dishonor the soldiers who died. Don't do that to these people. They don't deserve it.
Justin, you literally took the words out of my mouth, but said it much more eloquently than I ever could. Because yes, I was gonna be like, I think this movie does matter for that reason. One of the podcasts I listened to, there's a college professor, and I can't remember what the other girl does, but they're friends, and they talk about how history is portrayed in pop culture, and they have a episode on Pearl Harbor, and the college professor was like, I ask my students, what do you know of Pearl Harbor? Where is that knowledge coming from? And she's like, the vast majority all said the movie Pearl Harbor. And she's like, this is a problem. And as I said before, I don't think I would be hating on this movie quite as much if it wasn't just flat out named Pearl Harbor and kind of presented as such. And I agree that the time we're living in, and people getting information from the craziest sources, it's it's not that I think necessarily that you have an obligation in the Michael Bay's just not going to do that, and that's fine. But Michael Bay shouldn't be directing Pearl Harbor. Give me Bad Boys, give me The Rock, give me Transformers, But he doesn't need to be anywhere near a movie about Pearl Harbor. And the other thing is, Ben Affleck is so bad in this movie that I think that this is the real start of his downslide. He was voted by the Razzies as the worst actor of the decade in 2009. Or maybe it was 2010 I can't remember. But this was one of the, but I mean, he makes, God, I had to pull it up to remind myself. Mm-hmm. It is a real run. He's in Pearl Harbor, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Geely.
Daredevil, Geely, Paycheck, Jersey Girl, Elektra.
He comes back though.
Aces.
Yeah, he's Batfleck.
But yeah, later. And then but we get to the town, and then he kind of starts to
Argo,
the Renaissance,
Gone Girl,
the Renaissance, if you will. But I feel like this. I know you all were like, "Oh, no one talks about this movie," and I was like, I feel like this movie is famously known as a huge piece of shit. That it's a punchline that comes up a lot when you talk about movies from this era. And I mean, again, Team America. Team America exists. I mean, it's making fun of all action movies, but they were so clearly inspired by this, which I didn't even realize until I saw this movie for the first time, this past weekend. And they have a song called Pearl Harbor Sucked and I Miss You. And I think it's much like Swordfish. I think it is kind of a cautionary tale of this is not the way to do this.
Well, I do think I think it's a terrible movie. I would push back a little. I don't know how I feel necessarily about like, should a movie feel, people who make a movie feel obligated to present history as it happened. I have mixed feelings about if I would agree with that kind of line of thinking, because I think that gets you into some weird places pretty fast. But I do think it's interesting to think about this as if it's something that is being used to instruct people. Like that's on the education system. That's on people, like that's on us to, be curious humans. I don't think it's, but it is an interesting conversation because people do have different ideas of what different types of media should do, and we are in this place where, I mean, like probably 20 years from now, if someone's doing a show like this, I don't even like, I mean, it's just, we've talked about 1917. Like if someone just talking about that movie, I'm sure there's things they could pick at probably if they wanted to, but also like, what's sad is I bet it's far more historically accurate and probably will have far less attention put on it 25 years from now as opposed to this movie, because people aren't watching movies as much. Like it's they're getting their facts from YouTubers and TikTokers who, people who've read and done their research, and they're getting it disseminated through whatever filter that is, and who knows what'll be coming around then, from in the future, like what kind of things. I mean, like how many kids do you think probably have gotten their perspective on history just from Call of Duty?
You would be shocked. You'd be genuinely shocked by how many. You would. I mean, you would be truly shocked by how many.
I'm not sure I would be shocked. It makes me sad, but I'm not sure I would be shocked.
But it's also, I think for this film, I get your point. I see your point there. I feel like if this had at least gotten the spirit right, like 1917 gets the spirit of World War One right. Mm-hmm. It gets the feeling, the guttural feeling of the. And
that is a way better movie. By the way,
I mean, again, and I'll put a movie like Hacksaw Ridge. I do not like that movie. It is not fun for me, but it is far more accurate and it gets the feeling of it more right. I think one of the other things that, and again, very early,
Fury too.
Yeah, I mean, even Fury. There's a whole bunch of movies. This sits in the realm of like, again, Monuments Men. There's a whole slew of these kinds of movies. Green Book. Whole slew of these kinds of movies that came out and are just kind of like, they were there to either get nominated for an Oscar, make a quick buck off another movie. But like Michael Bay even said, right? Was it Michael Bay who said like they wanted it PG-13 so kids and teens could go see it because this was important for them to go see? Clearly, someone in the studio or him was like, this should be something that children see to get a better understanding of Pearl Harbor. And because it's PG-13, it's more able to be shown in classrooms. Mm-hmm. It's able to be shown to children. Right, you're not going to go take a kid. You're not going to show Hacksaw Ridge in a class. You can't. You'd have to get so many permission slips. It would be such a hassle. You're not doing that. But you can throw on Pearl Harbor without a second glance. You can't show All Quiet on the Western Front. You can show Pearl Harbor, and that's where this differentiates a bit. It's not the fact that historical movies have to be historically accurate, so much as historical movies have a if they're going to be about a specific event. In my opinion, as a former educator. If you're going to write about a specific event, it has to at least get the spirit of that event accurate.
And I do think this movie absolutely fails in that regard because it's just so tonally... It's just totally like not even in conversation with itself in a lot of ways. Like it's because it's just trying to... I do think a lot of that ends up, if it does end where it should, it starts to at least get closer to that, what it really should be. But fuck this movie.
fuck this movie. Heavy ass topics. God damn it.
I know I keep I've brought up Schindler's List how many times on this podcast?
Perfect.
Handful.
But,
near perfect movie.
And it's not 100% accurate. They made some concessions, and Oscar Schindler was like cheating on his wife and kind of like a piece of shit. And, they don't really delve into that too much. But I feel like telling a story about the atrocities of World War II through the eyes of this one person and really taking the entire movie to show that versus this movie just calling itself Pearl Harbor and we're going to try to be everything to everyone and throw in all this other random shit. But I bring up Schindler's List because it just really affected me when I finally got around to watching it when I was in college. And I just remember I was like, everyone needs to watch this. And I remember going to my mom like, have you seen Schindler's List? And she was like, yeah, like 12 years ago or whatever. But I don't know. I think that's like 1917 or I don't know, even Dunkirk was more interesting. I just...
Tora exists. Just watch that movie. It's so
I do kind of want to watch that now.
It did, like, I can't remember if we talked about this in the show or if we were doing it when we had a little break there, but like my bigger question is like, why did we need to make another Pearl Harbor movie when Tora? Like that was kind of my like bigger like question is we already have that. You know, why was there this?
But I mean, I get it. Like, you know, are people of today your average person gonna go back and watch a movie that was made in the 70s, right?
Yeah,
at that time it was more inaccessible at that point.
But it was also, I mean, like I think one of the things that's about Tora that's really interesting is that it's half directed by a Japanese director and half directed by an American director, and they didn't communicate. They essentially were like, "You go make your half, I'll go make my half," and it really does create a more encompassing picture of this event that doesn't really apologize to the Japanese half. Like the Japanese director does not make apologies. He very much is like, "This was on us. We should not have done this." But the American side is still more accurate. It gets a lot more information out there. It shows like why this is happening, how things act. I mean, I could talk ad nauseum about this. I'm sorry, but just go. If you're gonna watch Pearl Harbor, just watch Tora. It's about the same length. It might be even a little shorter.
God, if it's longer than fuck. Just really seriously, if you're watching this, like just turn it off. Like turn it off. Like when they're getting ready to go off to the mission. Like you're not missing anything. I really don't think you're missing anything. The story is done.
And there's less Kate Beckinsale at that point. There's like she's got like 2 scenes at that point. So
she's not in the movie much longer.
That's
like
true.
Yeah, if you're sticking around for her, you're not missing anything.
Okay. All right. Let's end this. Let's shoot this lame horse. Thanks for listening, everyone, and I'm sorry. That's it. I'm just sorry. Links to all of our online hangouts are in the description, and if you aren't already, please consider watching us on YouTube and subscribing wherever you'd like. And if you like what you heard, don't forget to rate us and review us on Apple, Spotify, Overcast, or whatever podcast app you're using. And if you didn't like it, as always, why are you still here 2.5 hours later in this episode about Pearl Harbor? Feel free to move along. Any last commentary?
Yeah, I just want to leave with a quote of a song that I think Evelyn had this song been out at the time, she would have had on repeat. And it's from the lovely Alicia Keys. I keep on falling in out of love with you. All right.
I want to, if you're one of these crazy people who's watching this or watching this movie and then listening to us, I'm sorry for the 6-hour bender you're on. I hope you're drinking. And also thanks, Justin, for joining us again. You got to do one of the best movies of the year last time you joined us, and so we had to bring you back for one of the worst.
Hey, Justin feels how I felt during Spirited Away.
I'll just say if you can bring me back for the best movie of the year, that's all I ask for, which is Fellowship of the Ring. Just bring me back for Fellowship.
Which is Fellowship of the Ring.
I'll do.
You know what, Justin?
Yes.
I will gladly slide out. For you to slide
honestly, yeah.
We got big plans
just fill in
for
for Slate.
We're gonna
He's
have.
Gonna hate it so
we're gonna have this is the. We're in the back half of our year now. We're headed towards the series finale, and for the listener just at home, we've been talking about Fellowship of the Ring a lot, and keep your ears ready. We're probably gonna have a lot of episodes about one movie, so stay tuned.
All right, Justin, anything else?
No, just thank you all for having me on. It's always fun just chatting with you all about movies. And as you can see behind me, there's a Hobbit hole right there. And those, by the way, are all Lord of the Rings puzzles on top of my Cubs popcorn tin.
Oh, yeah.
Go listen to Unvarnished.
Yes, take a chance to listen to my very sad "The World Is Ending" podcast.
It'll make you feel great.
Yeah. Okay, well, stay tuned for next time where thankfully we get to watch an actually really great movie with
A movie
Slate.
I drafted,
Yes.
Allison. I drafted a great movie.
Yep.
This might be the only movie on my entire list you enjoy. No.
I would watch Exit Wounds 3 times in a row.
Yes. See,
Exit Wounds
you
is
guys
way
are
better in this movie.
You guys are coming around
Exit
to my
Wounds is
draft.
awesome compared to this.
Exit Wounds was fun, at least.
Yeah.
Yes, Exit Wounds is just awesome. Period. You don't have to compare it to anything, Josh. It's just awesome. Okay. But no, yeah, we are going to be talking about the Christopher Nolan masterpiece. The movie's so nice that you have to rewatch it at least thrice to understand everything. We're going to be dealing in the world of Memento, and I cannot wait to talk about this movie with you guys.
Yeah,
I
it's gonna
can't
be a
wait
good time.
to watch something worthwhile. It's been a long time since I've seen Memento 2, so I'm ready for a rewatch.
I probably haven't seen it in the last 5 to 7 years, but I'm so pumped to check it back out.
All right, so with that, we will see you next week. And normally I am very jokey. We all joke at the end, but I'm going to be dead serious here, given the time we're living in. Do yourself a favor. Go read up on World War II. Go read up on Pearl Harbor. It's fascinating, and it's important. And I think for the second time on this podcast, I'm going to bring up the philosopher George Santayana and say this. So remember, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. And it's been 80 some years since World War II began, and the parallels to the current times are truly frightening. That's my feel-good message as we are heading out here.
Well, allow me to end this podcast with a quote that should have been at the beginning of this movie from our guy Plato. Only the dead have seen the end of war.
Also from, I think that's another quote from George Santayana. Or that it was commonly attributed to Plato. Anyway.
That's great.
Oh, God.
I love doing callbacks on this show. It's so great.